Hello, guys. Welcome to StarchCast. It's been a long time, but we're here with our first guest co-host, Legalize Tax. Now, I'm not sure if that's what he wants to be called, but hey, introduce yourself, dude.
Yeah, so hello. I'm Legalize Tax. Can just call me Tax for short. That is a nickname that I came up with long ago when I was like 16, and that's the one that I've kept for the past 11 years.
If it works, it works. No shame to that.
Yeah, and it's much better than all my previous ones that had numbers in them.
I mean, I can't say anything myself, considering that where I did end up playing a game that I had my old name on, mine's just kind of sounds incoherent until you like understand what it's referencing. So I mean, yeah, I'm pretty guilty of that one myself. Like for a
Yeah,
while.
but I,
Oh, sorry.
oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for a while I went by DW6 Fanman XD, which like for a while it was like a kind of a shout out to for one Dynasty Warriors 6, and then Fanman. I mean, like I was a huge fan of this one point YouTube channel that called itself DW6 Fanman, and I was a dumb kid and I was like, what is the best way to both give an homage to my favorite game and my favorite YouTube channel? That surely won't go wrong. Yes, just add XD to the end. That'll totally solve things.
Yeah, I remember that like the original screen name that I went by way back when was Thai 5 Dog because my I because this is what I used for Club Penguin way back in the day.
Oh, I was
And my older brother was Thai 4 Dog. So I just added one to the number because we had a dog at the time. She was a boxer. Her name was Tyson.
okay. My Club Penguin name was 2Q27 because I really thought a lot about my looks, and people were like, nah, you're cute. So it's like, obviously, yes, smartest thing, 2Q27. Surely this won't have any ramifications. But I mean, like we all kind of had just dumb names like that when we were kids, right?
Yeah. You just pick up the closest thing. I just copied my older brother because, even though we fought a lot, I still looked up to him in many ways.
I get it.
But even so, I guess that kind of brings in the least egregious segue of all time. Games are very different now than when I was a kid.
Oh
Haha.
boy, man. Like there were so like back in the day we had so many really good online MMOs. Well, yeah, as if there's any other kind of MMO. But, we had just so many good MMOs back in the day. Like there was Toontown Online, there was the Pirates of the Caribbean MMO, there was like 56 some odd RPGs. I might be exaggerating
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit. There was Battlefield Heroes, which aside from the monetization was just fun as shit. Battlefield Play for
Adventure
free.
Quest.
Oh, yes, that's another good one. Um, there
Yeah.
there was EverQuest. Didn't like if you remember that one.
I really wasn't old enough to be playing it around that time.
Fair enough.
Around like its heyday.
Ah, fair. Ultima Online is another one, and that one's actually still running. Like you can still nowadays play Ultima Online.
I mean, RuneScape is still going. I never played it, but I mean, hey, you can still play old school RuneScape to this very day.
Oh yeah. But like I'm talking the actual like OG Ultima Online. Like not as any sort of old school anything. Like we're talking that one is still going.
Whew.
Yeah. Which is surprising because like there's games even from a couple years ago that came out and nope, can't play them because that's just great and definitely has no ramifications upon anything. Oh yeah, Need.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say Need for Speed World's another one, but at least Toontown,
Oh.
Need for Speed World, even Battlefield Heroes do have revivals. Though Battlefield Heroes revival kind of died out a while ago because people were like, "Nah, this is too niche. We're not gonna play this." But it's like, why? Like that was the
Yeah.
best friggin' like free online shooter for a while.
I remember you mentioning Need for Speed unlocked that core memory for me as well because when I was a little kid, right, had that big old looked like a miniature CRT TV for for the computer monitor. I think we had Need for Speed Underground 2 for the PC. Or it was one of those racing games, but like you had to buy the CD-ROM to install it onto your computer, but it came with the peripherals as well. So we actually had the physical steering wheel and the pedals as well.
That is really cool.
Whereas these days, if you want to play a racing game, uh, either keyboard and mouse or you buy a console controller and just kind of deal with that.
Yeah. And don't get
They
me
they
wrong,
they used to
some are
go
good, but
all out.
yeah. It's a shame. Like you're bringing up peripherals, things that used to come with peripherals. Nowadays, if you want a wheel that's halfway decent, like you are shelling out like 3 digits, especially if you want a like a set of pedals to go with it. Like for the
Yeah.
just the shittiest one, which I believe is the Thrustmaster F240. Like I think you're paying 200 give or take. Let me actually look that up. Thrustmaster Ferrari Spider peripheral. Let's see. Uh, oh right, they don't actually sell that one anymore. Hold on, but I
Oh,
do
goody. So you're buying it from a third party who's gonna overcharge you.
actually just not really all that bad price I'm seeing. Like nothing actually in the triple digits anymore for the most part.
Oh.
Oh wait, I was wrong. You can apparently still buy them from Best Buy. 130. That's not bad.
Yeah, you know, that that's a pretty low triple digits, I'd say.
Normally though, like even with Logitechs, like even for like your shittiest Logitech, you're paying about 250, almost 300. I'd like to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you say they used to go all out. Like, love or hate Duke Nukem Forever, and a lot of people hate it. There was a bundle that they actually sold with that, which came with a graphics card to actually play that game, which was Duke Nukem Forever themed even. I believe it was
Wow.
I think it was like the GTX 460, I'd like to say.
Yeah. I think that one was also kind of like before my time of actually being able to get into it big.
That's fair. Like most of my stuff that I had back in the day was all pretty low end. Like I did end up getting, a 360 back in 2010 or 2011, but like that was, gifted by a long dead family friend. Like, he gifted it to me with a whole bunch of games, and then, that basically carried me for quite a long time. Which, talking about games, just the graphical leap going from the PS2, which was impressive, to all of a sudden having an actual HD console with games that were for one just massive in scope comparatively to like just having so much more detail even now just absolutely blow me away. Yeah, did I say blow me away? I meant just blows me away. It is just so impressive. What was that moment for you?
Let's see. I I I I grew up with the PS1 for the most part. I also had and I still have my PlayStation 1. In fact, I still have my Game Boy Color. It's right behind me, although it's kind of dying, being so freaking old. Um, I mean, what do you really consider an HD console?
HDMI input on the back or supports 1080i.
Uh, I mean,
So
did the 360 have that?
yeah, the 360 was, and the PS3 were the first consoles that I'm aware of that actually like had HDMI on the back of them. So they actually went up
Yeah,
to
so
like 1080p for display, but the games themselves actually rendered in 720.
all right. So I was a massive Spyro fan growing up. I still have my copy of Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon for PlayStation 1, and I had a neighbor, his name was Miles, way back when, and he had a copy of Ripto's Rage. So I would let him borrow my brother and I would let him borrow our copy of Spider-Man PS1, and he would let us borrow his copy of Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. So I also have like all of the Game Boy games for Spyro, Attack of the Rhinox, Season of Ice, Season of Flame. I think there's a Season of Ice 2, maybe? I I I forget. I have them all in a binder somewhere. Um, but HD for the Actually, no, that was just on the normal Xbox, wasn't it? Spyro: A Hero's Tale.
I believe it was, but let me double check that. Uh,
Dang.
Spyro: A
I think
Hero's
it might have
Tale.
been like right at the end of the generation, but I think I just had the copy for normal Xbox.
Yep, original Xbox, GameCube, and PS2.
Dang. All right, so I guess like my real introduction to HD was Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4.
Mine was either Modern Warfare, one of the Need for Speed games, or Left 4 Dead 2.
Nice. Yeah, I never played Left 4 Dead until like a few years ago, just because some of my friends wanted to go back to it. So that was my first experience with the game. Though I did have, though there was a copy in my house, I just never picked it up and played it.
I get it. I probably put like on the Xbox 360 at least, probably about, I'd like to say, 100 some odd hours into it, because it was just one of those games that, when you're a kid and like you're like, holy crap, I've got like just access to this major leap in graphics, gameplay, and even like just seeing the boundaries of everything I knew kind of push, because like even with the gore and whatnot, like this really blew me away. And just it was really fun because back in the day with the Xbox 360, playing with randos, even if you got called a squeaker, you were still having a pretty good time. Which
Oh yeah.
were you a squeaker back in the day, or were you
Oh, I absolutely was. I had the headset. I didn't play Call of Duty Online until Modern Warfare 2. Um, just because, family couldn't afford Xbox Live accounts for everyone. And
yep.
I mean, why would they pay for an Xbox Live account just for me to play one singular game? It didn't really make any sense until I started becoming a early teenager.
Yep.
And then there were all the other online games, so then I could play with my friends elsewhere.
I kind of miss those days. Like, every tax time we'd get one of those $60 per year Xbox Live cards, get it all set up, and then we were good for a whole year, didn't have to worry about anything. So, I'd be playing Doom back in the day online. I'd be playing World at War when the hackers weren't trying to ruin that stuff, even for zombies. I've been playing Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection, which, oh man, I am so hyped for the Legacy Collection. And stuff like that. It was just fun to banter and whatnot with people online. It's probably also where most of my salty vocabulary came from, but man, it was worth it. Especially playing
Yeah.
Bulletstorm back in the day. Oh man, the reactions of people when you just happen to hit that grapple just right, or a leash, man. There's
Yeah,
some.
and there were a huge variety of games back then as well. Like I know that there's a huge variety of games today, but it feels like a lot of them are just trying to ape each other or otherwise they're just buried under the massive shovelware slop.
It's sad too, because you speak about both aping and slop, but like it feels like you said, like everything is just designed to be exactly the same. Even the Japanese don't really try anymore. It feels like, because they'll know people will just buy up anything. Doesn't matter if it's their manga. It feels like doesn't matter if it's their actual anime. Their game is based on that, and like that's why like when it comes to like even Japanese media, like, the only thing I tend to pick up nowadays if I want to watch something is some of their tokusatsu, because, those, despite the fact they kind of look similar, their stories are quite different. Like, they're clearly still trying for that. Like, I know some of it's just, to sell toys and whatnot, but, like, and that's, like, another thing. Like, you talk about how everything's the same. Like, it's, things are just so irony poisoned, it feels like. They're just trying to push like, oh yeah, you'll buy it. Let's just keep doing. Oh, ho, 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 we're so self-aware. Like Tokusatsu's like, no, we know what we're doing. Like this is what we are. We're not about to change for some tourist. No, this is what we're doing. You don't like it? Too bad. Stop watching. Because they respect their
Yeah.
audience with that kind of stuff. It's why I'm kind of sad that we haven't had a good even Common Rider game in quite a while. Going back to games, but like there's just been like games in general now. even like in me, like the indie stuff, like it's all just exactly the same. It's like, wow, cool. I get to see the same crap I've been seeing everywhere else, but this time it's racing flavored.
Wow, I get to go into dangerous place and collect items to make number go up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm describing like 12 different games. Now, when Lethal Company did it, it still was pretty new. But now that all the other ones are doing it as well, it's like, okay, okay. And PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was new for the battle royale thing, and then everyone else started aping it. And that's not to say that you can't do what someone else did, but improve upon it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is when everyone chases that single trend and everyone's trying to recreate the original without putting their own flair on it.
You know, you talk PUBG. Like the only one I would actually say, like when it comes to battle royales, like there's only two battle royale. Did I just? I don't know what's going on with my mouth today. Like I'm actually sober, so I do apologize. Um, here's like there's only two really that are noteworthy at all, and that were even really noteworthy back in the day. PUBG, like you said, and then Fortnite. That's it.
Yeah.
Like sure, we've had many
And
clones, like the
I
crappy
will I
culinary
will give
ones.
and I will give Fortnite this, even though the only battle royale games that I've ever played are Minecraft Hunger Games when that was the big one. Um, because no one really thought of the battle royale moniker yet, and Fallout 76's because when I was trying to give that game a shot, I wanted the ghillie suit,
I get it.
but I hated it so much.
The worst part is, like, you speak about Fallout 76. That game, it used to suck. It used to be complete and utter crap. Funny enough, once they added the NPCs and then started really iterating on the world, things actually got better. And then Bethesda had to open their mouths and ruin it, like saying, "Oh yeah, all this progress, none of it matters because basically they're all dead anyways. Don't actually win against the Scourge. Go fuck yourselves." Maybe not in quite those words, but it was basically in those exact words. And it's like, we get that you love your whole misery jerk off, Todd Howard, but why not actually make something that at least pretends to be vaguely hopeful? I didn't think it was that hard.
Yeah, I mean, Fallout 1 and 2 were very hopeful as well. Even Fallout New Vegas to an extent is hopeful. Uh, it it's just like 3 is just an action blockbuster movie, and 4 is just a nothing gray sludge.
No, no, it's a shitty civilization with really terrible shanties. Plus, hey, I've marked the settlement on your map. Go fix it, jackass. The game.
Yeah, it it's really disappointed because a family friend of mine actually works for Bethesda Softworks,
I had a friend who
so
worked for
it's
them too, as well as worked with Arcane in the studio that did Hi-Fi Rush.
oof,
Whew. Yeah,
that's rough.
incredibly, yes. And then now, I have friends who actually work still in that area. I can only imagine like how shitty things are gonna be for them now that Game Pass Ultimate's now 30 a month and everything else went up like 40 to 50%. Like even PC Game Pass, which had been like 11.99 a month, I'd like to say, like that shot up to 16.49 a month, and that's before tax.
Oof.
Yeah, like that is
Yeah.
insane. Like I understand Microsoft is being ran by a dumbass with really terrible decision making skills who like is one of those, oh yes, I know what I'm doing, despite the fact that everything he's touched has turned to shit. But, at least pretend to do something halfway decent. Come on.
Yeah. And I guess back to the loop of everything feeling samey. Hi-Fi Rush, as you mentioned, that one actually felt unique. That felt like they were doing something a bit new, and then they kill the studio that did that did it.
Yep. And the worst part is,
And then they kind of undid that and walked it back, but still,
mm-hmm.
and finally there's a new-ish feeling thing, and you try and smother it with a pillow.
Yep. It feels like that is just the common theme. It's one of the reasons why on Twitter you'll probably like see me every now and again going, quit keep quit keeping the dang corporates in power. Start hiring the autistics and people who are genuinely passionate again. You want good games? You want something that actually feels like just really good again? Quit letting the corporate dipshits be in charge of things. Actually let our autistic turbo neats have power again.
Yeah.
But they
But
won't
I think
because
it
bottom
speaks
dollar.
more to I think that the real core of the issue is something that I forget who I did see this somewhere else first, so this isn't a totally original idea, kind of on theme. But one of the reasons, and I agree with it, one of the reasons that all the games end up feeling the same is because games are now made by people who played games, not by people who did anything else. So they're not bringing any new experiences to the table. They're just and they're bringing their experiences from games that they've played, and they're just like, oh, I want to do this game but this,
That's
rather than I want to capture this like Pokemon. The creator of that was like, I want to recreate the feeling of just going out into the woods and catching bugs.
that actually brings me to another point. You're talking about like have one thing and no new experiences. Let's talk about one of the biggest elephants in the room, and one of the companies that actually caused, I would actually say, that one of the major downfalls and detriments towards modern gaming. From Software, who hasn't done an original
Ooh.
game since 2009 or whenever it was Demon Souls came out. Like, as much as I'd love to be like, oh yeah, like they do great stuff, they don't. It's just all the same copy and pasted bullshit with one or two new mechanics right here. And the only cool thing I can say that they do, which I wish more companies would do, you know, they're English voice actors. Like,
Do they are they the ones that use like stage actors rather than the
yes,
typical VA industry?
yeah, they use stage actors. They don't use the friggin' ENVA Mafia, which I hold
Yeah.
massive respect for that. It is just a shame they just keep copying and pasting the same bullshit over and over and over again.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with iterating on what you've done before. Like I mentioned Fallout 2 and New Vegas, and those are very blatantly sequels, but they do build more on the idea and they do something different than the original. They just continue the story in a way.
Yeah, which, while I'd love to say Dark Souls 2 and 3 really do, at the same time, they really don't. Like, sure, the story is kinda there and something kinda happens. Other than that, like, they're basically the exact same game, and it's like, okay,
Just with
cool.
more polish.
Yeah. Or in Dark
Like they
Souls,
found out what yeah, they find out what works and they just make the next thing work a little bit better.
yeah, like, with Dark Souls 2, though, like, the only thing I can say that really separates that from the others is just how much, like, like, before you actually learn it, just, like, how much more hard it becomes. And it's like, okay. And then they immediately walk it back for Dark Souls 3. Like, sure, it's slightly aesthetically different, but I mean, at the same time, it is still, at the end of the day, an incredibly just boring, samey game. Like, wow, cool, more From Slop to shovel in my mouth. And, I hate to use the term slop, but I mean, friggin' Bloodborne? Sure, it's got some slightly different ideas with the Hunter's Dream and the trick weapons, but other than that, wow, cool, you're doing the exact same thing you've done in every other game. Wow, cool, Sekiro's Samurai Dark Souls, kinda. Yippee skippy. Oh wow, open world with Elden Ring? No fucking way. Like, maybe I'm just too cynical here, but I mean, I I just can't really if I'm not excusing Call of Duty, I can't excuse, From Software.
Yeah. You know, if we want to get away from the cynicism for just a short amount, so it's not just old men just constantly complain about new things. Uh, I there's a time and place to complain, but uh, there's also like okay, what can be done better, and who can you look to actually like improve things? Uh, a few relatively new. let me check the release year. 2018. Ugh. Okay. Awkward to cite a 2018 game, but it did have a recent DLC for like its 10th major anniversary. Kingdom Two Crowns. Even though the company did work with Sweet Baby for some things, not the base game itself is actually pretty darn good. Most of the DLCs are free for it, and the ones that aren't change things pretty drastically. My wife and I went through the Call of Olympus DLC for it, which does it changes enough about the game and just the idea of the entire Kingdom franchise of like, okay, spend your money, have your guys go over here. It's a little bit like that mobile game formula where you're waiting for whatever to happen, but it's reactive enough and there's enough that you can do proactively that keep it feeling engaging, even if it's a more casual experience.
That's why I liked the
Uh,
Reigns game, if you ever played Reigns.
oh yeah, that's that's like the rulership game where it has Tinder controls.
Yeah, basically. I thought that one was actually pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah. And now we are talking about games that are about a decade old because I remember watching some people play that as well. But
Speaking of a decade
these are
old.
still
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
you first.
But these, even though these are relatively old now, they're still kind of new-ish, I'd say, to show that there are still plenty of ideas that even even though Kingdom Two Crowns is a sequel, a sequel to a sequel, I believe, it's still iterating on something that still feels fresh, and they're still working on this game. There's going to be another free uh, a free update to it coming soon. I'm just looking at the the community page for it.
Oh,
Not sponsored,
lordy.
definitely.
What, those community
Uh,
pages are either really, really good or they're a cesspit with no in between.
yeah, a lot of them just are used as advertising for their other games or their streams or whatever, but it's it's fine enough for Two Crowns, I'd say. But yeah, even though it's a sequel to a sequel, uh, it's it's still iterating on something that feels relatively fresh, and there's still more that can be done with it. And I remember in our notes that we were talking about the other day before we actually spoke today, you were mentioning a lot of games just feel really short that you can just blaze through them.
Yeah,
I don't
like,
necessarily think that's a problem, but I think what you were getting at more is that games are really expensive for the time that you can put into it.
here's more what I meant. Going with a rather recent title, Dead Island 2. Like, that one only came out, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Hmm.
And that one had a couple of
Yeah, I don't remember.
DLCs, House and SOLA. Like the reason that I'm citing that game specifically in this example, that game, like, just to do the main game, if you got the time and you got literally nothing to do, you can blaze through that one in the amount of time it takes to do Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is about 11 and a half hours. And that's even doing the side quests. Like, you can quite literally just blaze through that game. It is some of the most linear stuff in the world. Like, it is like, wow, cool. It's a vaguely open world type game, just with the different zones. Vaguely being the word, because each zone you have to go into, which means, sure, you can explore and check out all these different things. If you can pick up a key, you can unlock this locker. But it is still so short. At full price, I think you're paying like 60, $70, give or take. And
Uh, current Steam page, first of all, released April 22nd, 2024, so year and a half old. Current full price is $50. 70% off for the Steam Autumn sale though.
wow, $40. Okay, that's actually not as bad.
50,
Oh,
49.99.
oh, sorry, $50. Like, that's actually not too bad. But I mean, at the same time, even with the DLC, you can blaze through the game if you're playing on your own. And I haven't got into New Game Plus yet, but like, if you're doing it with the DLC and the side quests for said DLC, you can genuinely blaze through it in about like 2, 3 days if you're really dedicated. And, or even if you're not too dedicated, like it is one of like the easiest games out there. And that's just without doing co-op, which I'm sure adds a little bit to it, but at the same time, it's like, wow, cool. Like I've blazed through a game that I just spent a rather substantial amount of money on. That's nice, and it feels like that's like most games in general. Like, sure, you can get slightly different gameplay by playing these different characters with their specializations, but, pardon, like you can kind of clear through that one, and like it feels like most games just in a couple of days. And it's like, when I used to play, back with the PS2 games, Xbox 360 games, and all that, like I could just sit down and I could just play the games to play the games, and I'd be entertained for a while because there was just so much to do. And it feels like you just don't get that anymore because you can just like you're paying a substantial amount of money for an experience you can get anywhere for less, or even get better for less for something that came out even like a year or two prior. And it's like, why are we even wasting the money anymore? You know what I mean? Ineloquent as that
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Uh, I'm I'm not sure like 1 or 2 days on that really. My wife and I went through Dead Island, the first one, across several weeks. Um, but looking at my total playtime says about 29 hours, which granted I bought it while it was on sale, but if I did get it at the full price of like $20, I'd still say that that was a worthwhile purchase for the amount of time played.
I would argue Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide are a more worthwhile experience than Dead Island 2, because like while like they are dated and they got a lot they did wrong, they gave you so much more because like it was an open world with leveled zones that you went in, didn't matter what you were doing, you could get a at least slightly different experience each time. The issue with Dead Island 2, it is exactly the same every time. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you reapproach and play it. Like, I've played as Ryan, I've played as the Hispanic woman whose name I can't remember. I've played as Jacob. I've played as, what was the punk chick's name? I don't, off the top of my head. And sure,
I don't
health,
know. I didn't play Dead Island 2, and I couldn't tell you the names
yeah,
of the player characters in the first one.
fair, but like it didn't matter. Like, didn't matter who you played as. Sure, there was a difference in toughness and stamina, but it was still basically exactly the same game every time. Like, you're not really getting a different experience. Like you could quite literally just call it a one and done, which kind of brings me to a statement I made a while ago. Like, I really believe that, like, assuming we get past the dystopian crap that it feels like is being pushed in games, I think they'll call this the era of disposable media. Because it feels like everything is just disposable. Like sure you can play it, but you'll just throw it away afterwards because there's nothing more to do.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with games that you would only play once if it feels like a worthwhile experience, but it's in conjunction with them all kind of feeling the same that really gets you.
Yeah, and it's like it just yeah it just all feels the same, and it does not feel worthwhile. It just feels like you're doing it just so that way you can say you did it now, and it's like, okay, why am I even wasting my money when I can just watch a couple of videos on YouTube and say I did it? It's not like there's much difference.
Yeah. I guess to bring it to a couple of games that I think do a similar concept, no, not quite a similar concept, but at their very base, they're both city builders, right? Uh, Republic of Pirates and Frostpunk, the first one. I see that you have previously played Frostpunk. I don't know how far you got into it though.
I
Uh,
made it to the main menu and then I crashed so hard that the game corrupted.
oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, the first Frostpunk is actually really good. I'm still like occasionally booting it up. I have 206 hours in it. Uh, but and I really like the sort of management aspect of that city builder, keeping and each of your citizens feel very much like a person that you want to take care of, and you're balancing all these different things, but the game is also letting you absolutely fail. If you don't learn the systems, but the game gives you all the tools to learn the systems well, but if you don't put in the effort to learn it, then you're just going to completely fail, lose, whatever. I tried so hard to like Republic of Pirates because pirates are cool as like a concept,
As an
and it is a
aside
city
here,
builder as well.
sorry to
Oh, go
cut
ahead.
in, but like what other than, City of Pirates, Assassin's Creed 4, Sid Meier Pirates, and the Port Royale series, well, when was the last time we actually had a pirate game?
Um,
Other than Skull and Bones, I should mention.
Windward 2.
Windward 2. I haven't heard of that one.
Okay, I Windward was one of the first, or sorry, Windward Horizon is what it's called. Um, I played the original Windward way back when. What? When was it released? 77 and a half hours in it. 2015. Okay, that was the first game. I found that quite fun. Windward Horizon is. Oh yeah, okay. It's being sold as a full game. It was released this year in May. Windward Horizon is just like a better version of the original Windward, though.
Okay.
So you can kind of consider it to just be an upgrade from the 2015 version.
Well, both are wishlisted for in the future.
Yeah. I find them pretty fun, but they're a much more casual piratey game.
So sort of like the old Tradewind
Uh,
series from back in the day.
uh, I wouldn't know.
Ah, fair.
I did give Sea of Thieves a chance, but I don't I don't usually have anyone to play it with. So it feels like one of those games where you have to have people to play it with, otherwise it just doesn't feel right to play it solo.
What do you call it? The original, quote unquote, friend slop?
No, I think the main difference between friend slop and games that require multiplayer to properly enjoy, I think that there's a very big difference between those. One of them is the fun is required. The fun has to be created by the people you're with. The other is you can only truly enjoy it when you have people taking on their specialized roles.
Okay.
So like any of the friend slop games, you can basically replace them. It's just a beer and pretzels thing, an excuse to hang out, right? So you don't really need to hop onto the next friend slop game in order to have a good time. You could, in theory, just stick with whatever's there. And but playing it alone will never be rewarding because the fun comes from the people that you're specifically with. Uh, Games like Sea of Thieves or other multiplayer required-ish games, the fun comes from the game itself. So you can't just have some random friend just chatting to you and you're really not going to have that great of a time with it because the focus is on the game and how you interact with each other to play the game and reach its goals. It's
Okay.
the extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Friend slot games are entirely intrinsic, whereas multiplayer required to properly enjoy, which I really need a much more succinct way to say that, are extrinsic motivation.
Okay. Going back to Republic of Pirates, what was exactly wrong with it? You said you wanted to enjoy it, but
Oh, yeah. The problem with it is that it wants to be a city manager, but it doesn't let you play how you want. It has very invasive tutorials that are like, you will place this structure right here. Okay, now we're going to give you a little bit of freedom. Okay, now it's time to tutorialize the next bit, like an hour later, and you are going to place this new structure right here. So it's a game that wants to play itself. It's not letting you experiment, it's not letting you fail.
That sounds similar to like what the developers of the Fun Pimps are doing nowadays. Not sure how tuned in you are to the 7 Days to Die community, but
Not very much, but I do know people who have complained about it.
like there's a pretty solid reason why my status on Discord even is Fun Pimps Delenda Est, because like when I first started playing this game in high school, I was a huge fan of it. Like it had freedom to fuck up. If I do that, I'm screwed. But there's enough leeway I can learn, do better, and even build like a halfway decent base for Horde Night or whatever. And then as the game got, older and we got a new update every year, which basically made it an entirely different game. Like it became easier and easier, more trivial, but with each thing getting easier and all the different things being added, the issue was like they started taking away more and more player freedom. Like, oh, you want to play it like this? No, you don't, buddy. You are playing it how we want. You don't like that? Oh, you want your underwater base? You want this base that has a zombie funnel and rather logical conclusions for this thing or that thing? Ha! No, you don't. You were going to play this how we wanted, and that's it. You want your base underground? No. You want to have any freedom whatsoever? Go fuck your hat. And it's like, why? Why are developers like this now? Like, I don't understand how hostile developers. Cause like, you even go into the 7 Days forums, and you look through the archived thing, and then you see, like, starting in, I'd like to say 2018 or 19, like a rising sentiment, just from the developers, and with what seems to be what I can only describe as kind of a rising resentment and dislike towards the actual players. And it's like, why, dudes? Like, we're the ones bankrolling you. You do realize we can basically, like, pull the rugs, just stop paying you. Like, you guys will actually have to do this on your own budget, right? Like, would it not kill you guys to stop and think and go, maybe we should stop being hostile to the player base who have been with us since our days on Kickstarter? But apparently not. And it's like, why, dudes? Like, do they just not stop and think anymore? Like, that's probably the worst thing about developers. It seems like a lot of them are like that now.
Yeah. And they there's something that I'm going to say which is going to sound like I'm saying the exact same thing, but some linear experiences are not necessarily bad, but
Agreed.
there's a huge difference between a developer designing a linear experience to let you understand what's next by building off of what came before, and a developer wanting you to take a very specific path to the end. Uh, I guess a couple of games that I can mention for the linear feel. I'm just going to use Frostpunk again for because every single weather event in Frostpunk for the main game and the side modes is predetermined. The temperature will change at certain times, and there will be certain days where big things happen and you have to make decisions then. But how you get to that point and how you deal with it is up to you, how you've been informed. A different game that I think does this very poorly is a game called Potionomics. Have you heard of that one?
Not at all.
Okay, so real quick on it. Released 2022. You inherit a potion shop and you need to pay off the debt for it, right? Oh yes, lovely another game about paying off debt. It's a very easy get out of jail free motivator. But uh, on certain at the end of each week, there will be a competition, which is basically the only way to pay off your debt for it. So if you don't win that contest, you fail and you have to basically start over because you probably didn't do something right at the start of that week.
Okay.
You don't have to start completely over, Maybe you do if you really fucked up pretty early on, but managed to squeak by one of the end of the week challenges. But you essentially have to start that week over and figure out the correct solution to get through it.
That
It's
sounds painful.
yeah, another game that I've just tried to get through, but it's it wants me to play it in a very, very specific way, and it's just not fun. Now for Frostpunk, if you're gonna go for the survivor mode, the hardest difficulty, there is an exact path that you're pretty much gonna have to follow. But that's for like, okay, this is putting everything to the test. Have you figured out the game systems to discover the exact path that will get you through this? But you can lower the difficulty a bit and it'll still be quite challenging, but it's not going to force you into a very specific playstyle. Potionomics, if you do not make the correct decision on day 2, you will not win the contest at the end of the week. And then you just have to play through each, each day once again, building off of the previous to get the correct answer.
That sounds like a hell of a disparity between the two games.
Yeah, it's the strange balancing act between of linear game design where it's like, okay, let them test them on what we did before, but don't force them to use a very specific tool at a specific time. Or if we want them to use this specific tool at this specific time, let them be able to figure that out with some sort of hint. Give the breadcrumbs, but don't give the loaf.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very succinct way of putting it, and I wish more developers, who design games actually understood that, but instead, because they cater to folks like Darkside Phil, or the many gaming journalists who don't have a single brain cell to rub together between the bunch of them, instead we're stuck with such wonderful things like yellow paint.
Yes, rather than deliberate lighting choices.
Yeah.
Yellow paint is the loaf. Lighting choices are the breadcrumbs.
Yep.
The act of subtlety has been lost.
The only thing that these folks understand that would be subtle would be a brown paper bag full of animal droppings lit up on their front porch with a newspaper or with a doorbell being rung. And even that might be giving them far too much credit, it feels like.
This seems to be dangerous. I should do something about it. But what?
Oh man, that's I think one of the reasons why I hated the Resident Evil 2 remake. Cause, like, sure, it was still kinda Resident Evil 2, kinda, but at the same time, like, they were basically holding your hands, and it's like, okay, this doesn't feel like Resident Evil 2. I don't know, like, maybe I'm just too spoiled by just the fact that I play a lot of older games on my own time, but it just, like you said, like, they're just either handing us the loaves, they're just holding our hands the whole time, and why? You know?
Yeah. I guess I do also want to talk about another game that I very much enjoyed. This one though, released 2021, so it's only like 4 years old. Solasta, Crown of the Magister.
I've heard
It
very good things about that. That's on D&D 5e, right?
Yes, it runs off of the SRD 5.1 rule set. Uh, it it was created and it was released before Baldur's Gate 3, but it still very much feels like that tabletop D&D thing. And my first run through of it, uh, when when you create your characters, you also give them personality traits. And there are only even though if you have a character speak, they're only going to say one specific line in order to progress the plot. The flavor of it changes depending on the personality traits that you gave them.
I see.
and even just some like little incidental dialogue can be really funny. Uh, my party was about to go into the orc cave, and they're talking about all these different things, and my dumb fighter just ends the conversation by saying, "I like caves," and it's just so it's informed by like his his personality traits, not by his stats. But it was so it's one of those small details that doesn't feel like it was there just to bait out someone saying, "Oh, I like that small detail."
Yeah.
You can always kind of feel the difference between a small detail being there because it was nice and a small detail being there because someone would say something about it.
That's like why I'm not really a fan of too many RPGs nowadays. Like I used to play, back when I was a kid, like a bunch of turn-based, and like it felt like there was actually, like just character. Meanwhile now, it's just like insert emotion here, most generic dialogue you've ever seen, and it doesn't change. And it's, like that's why games like Solasta are so
Uh,
important
yeah,
now.
I'm not sure which way to pronounce it. They are coming out with the sequel.
I just hope it'll be as
Um,
good.
yeah, I'm I'm hopeful because like even it, so each of the DLCs for Solasta, uh, mostly positive. One of them mixed reviews, and then just a couple of extra classes, so generally positive. But two of the DLCs are just extra campaigns, and it's either mixed reviews or mostly positive. So I think that if they have the same team working on it, they're probably gonna do pretty well.
Okay.
Uh, I think that yeah, so Solasta 2 is going to use the 2024 D&D rule set as its base, which is not that different from SRD 5.1.
Well, hopefully it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm hopeful about it because even the story of Solasta, while it feels a little bit generic, save the world, ancient evil, it has all sorts of character to it, and you can still have a good time exploring what's there. And once again, it has that relatively curated experience. There's it does branch out at a certain point. You can pick the first few dungeons are like, okay, you need to do it in this order so that we know you have a baseline understanding of how to play this game. Then it spreads out a little bit where it's like, okay, you can pick these dungeons to do in any order. You're going to be a relatively similar strength throughout all of them. You so you will get stronger throughout it, but they're expected that you could do them in any order. So each of the dungeons is approximately the same difficulty. So whatever one you do last is probably going to be the easiest combat wise.
Okay.
But it's still it maintains the best of that curated linear experience with a little bit of open world freedom choice. And how you go about solving some issues is still possible. There's a little bit of wiggle room here and there. You can talk down some of the bosses, and I highly recommend that you talk down the final bosses as much as you can, because the final boss area is brutal.
Ah, fun.
But the choices that you made before come back to help you in the end,
I see.
or they don't, and that's because you didn't make the right choices before.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about that, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Baldur's Gate 3.
Alrighty, yeah, I because I love a challenge, I've only tried to play it on honor mode
Okay.
because I'm stupid and I hate myself, and I've played through Act 1 so many times, but I get to the very end of Act 2 against Merkel, and I'm just stonewalled
That good, huh?
because I haven't played it on the easier difficulty to figure out what to do first. And I'm
Ah,
and I'm refusing to like look up the answers to it either because I want to learn.
I get it.
But
I th-
even so, the story feels pretty good from what I've seen so far. I've heard a lot of people aren't really happy with Act 3. It's like Act 1 everyone really loves. Act 2 is very little story to really chew on, and then Act 3 is where everyone's like, "Oh, this feels a little bit off."
I think my biggest issue with Baldur's Gate 3 is just how player sexual, so to speak, that the companions seem to be.
Yes.
Like, wow, cool. Anyone's in your pants almost immediately. Cool.
Yeah. I I think that this is an issue of developers not feeling not feeling confident enough to allow their players to play through a game multiple times to see different things. Uh, I guess to say a slightly better example, Cyberpunk, right? The side missions don't have characters that are just always player sexual. Judy only gets with women. Panam only gets with men. Uh, is River bi? I don't remember.
River, I don't know if he's bi, but if you play as a woman with a penis, he's all over you.
Okay.
Notice
Okay,
the
then he
keywords
probably is.
there. Like, notice the keywords there. Like, with a penis. I haven't tried, like, actually, like, as a pure woman character on there, but doing it like that. Like the River
Funny enough,
characters
my
all over you.
cyberpunk playthrough was female V,
Like, fully female, or...
fully.
Ah, okay.
So I think River might be bi then, or at least he just doesn't care. Which fine. This is a world. Those people do exist. That's
Mm-hmm.
totally fine.
Yeah.
But also Judy and Pan having their own like
Oops.
hard lines of no, I will not do this.
Is
That
nice to see.
feels good.
Yeah.
Right? It forces you to have to choose anything different in order to see all the content. It- Say what you will about the problems of Cyberpunk, but they were at least confident in that regard.
Yeah.
Whereas if and I'm not saying none of the companions in Baldur's Gate 3 should have been strictly or I'm not saying that all the companions in Baldur's Gate 3 should have been strictly gay or straight. You could have thrown in one or two that go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Totally fine. The problem is that all of them want to get with you so quickly, and they don't care either way.
That's why I
That's where
use...
it's like, okay, look, it 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 feels less that they want and yeah, it feels less that they want you because of your character and more like the the game developers know that people want to see this, therefore they're showing it.
Yeah, that's why I used the term player sexual. Like, that was both
Yes.
a slam on the developers and on the really shitty design.
Yeah, and I've heard that term as well used to describe the Fallout 4 companions.
I
I
wouldn't
don't
say
remember
they
who
were
said it though.
player sexual. I'd say they're just really, really one-dimensional. Because, like, that
Yeah.
game, like, while I can kind of see the player sexual argument, at the same time, there is still something, bare bones as it is, of a morality system, to the point where, like, player sexual, as much as I'd love to say that's an accurate descriptor, is actually pretty off the mark. Because I put a fair few hours into Fallout 4 back in the day. Granted, I never did much of Far Harbor other than having gone through it once and then didn't touch the other DLCs because I thought they sucked. But
Yeah.
for the most part, like, that was actually fairly inaccurate despite all the many shortcomings of Fallout 4.
Yeah, I got to, but didn't actually begin the final quest of Fallout 4, so I technically didn't finish it. Um,
You didn't miss much.
yeah, I know. Uh, but I did finish Bar Harbor and Nuka World, though I never actually touched the the Vault Tech one.
Oh, that
Uh, I
DLC.
did finish I did finish Automatron though. Though Automatron is pretty short, so that's not really too bad.
I think my biggest issue with Fallout 4 was, because I got this game basically at launch, so like, I
Same.
saw all these people complaining about the bugs, and like, I didn't encounter any of the bugs when I was playing it, because I got it before even the DLCs came out, and like,
Yeah.
I heard people complain about, oh hey, it's got this problem, that problem, this problem, that problem, but I've never ran across any of those bugs. So what? Fast forward about 10 years, give or take, probably a little bit less than that actually. Like, I was like, hey, like, I'm not saying these bugs didn't exist. I'm just saying I didn't encounter these bugs, and then I got called all these rude names and troll and whatnot. It's like, okay, are we past civil discourse in video games now?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly didn't notice any bugs in my Fallout 4 playthrough either.
Yeah,
And I also got it at launch.
yeah, I got the actual like Fallout 4 Xbox One even.
PC.
Ah, fair
That
enough.
I Yeah, I basically migrated exclusively to PC when I was like 17,
I couldn't afford an
16 or
actual
17.
dedicated gaming PC until I was 18. Like, I had an Alienware Alpha, which is one of the old Steam machines from back in the day, and that carried me for quite a while. But I mean, like, for actual when it came to it, like an actual gaming PC, I didn't even get one of those until much later.
Yeah.
And even then, I was like pretty, stuck to the hardware at the time because like I had the pretty low end model with the i3, the 4 gigs of RAM, and then the GTX 860M back in the day, which, like, for the time, even the 4 gigs of RAM was awesome because, like, I could play anything just about at 60 frames a second. Like, even Dying Light back in the day, like, that one even interfaced with the RGB on the Alienware. So, like, like, if you got hurt, like, your LEDs would flash, red. Flashlight would actually make your LEDs kind of that orange whitish, and if you were in a safe zone, it would be green, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
I miss when developers and companies actually took risks like that, and we actually could see things that actually interface with the LEDs on the system. Because
Yeah.
now we're in a future where everything is RGB LED puke or whatever, and nope, you don't get games that interface that
Yeah.
anymore. And
Yeah.
it's
Games either have too saturated color or no color, and there's very little in between.
yeah, it's the same way with movies now.
Yeah. And although I will say that the Wachowskis' Speed Racer, despite being so many colors, is an awesome movie,
That game.
and people
Oh,
are
sorry.
and people only in the recent years have started waking up to it.
I actually wore out one of those DVDs back in the day because I had one of the old Magnavox DVD televisions, the old CRT ones, which I still actually have
Yeah.
upstairs. And oh
Ooh.
man, like I watched that Speed Racer on there so many times. Oh man, like that was just an awesome friggin' film. And like I never
And it has
realized.
so much heart to it.
Oh, for real. Like, I never realized until I was an adult that it was considered a bad movie because it was like, this is just a fun experience that's got everything I could want in a movie. And, hey, this movie sucks, actually. The fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has so much heart and soul to it. And of course, later on, the Wachowskis completely fried their brains in the sex dungeons with all the drugs in the world, as anyone in Hollywood for long enough and does. Feel
But
bad for them.
speaking of sex
And
dungeons, didn't they actually transition? Like, didn't the
no comment.
Wachowski.
Yes, there's a reason I just said the Wachowskis.
Ah, fair enough, fair
I
enough.
I was trying to avoid any potential
Oh, I'm not about to.
controversial thing by
I'm,
calling them either brothers or sisters. I was trying to completely sidestep that. Just
Fair
call them
enough. Like, I
the
wasn't trying to
Wachowskis.
be rude
Yeah.
here or, like, come up with any
No, no.
controversial topics. I was like, that name sound like they sound familiar. Was it those people?
Yeah. Yeah, the Matrix creators, which I was going to go on to say, like, uh now that they went back to the Matrix, the latest Matrix movie people don't really like because it doesn't have the heart and souls of the originals. It
I
just feels it just feels like going back and retreading the ground that they already did without actually doing anything new.
I still gotta watch the latest Matrix movie. Like I saw a clip here with the blue pills, and cool, I guess. I mean, like it was such like just from the clip I saw, it looked like such a colorless movie, except for the blue pills, which were so the like such a just shocking contrast for how those had a lot of color and everything else was just gray, bland, and who gives a shit, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Which there's nothing wrong with like having it's cinematography, right? So the use of color is very important. It it makes total sense to have your setting be mostly monochromatic and then use bright saturated colors to specifically draw the eye somewhere.
Hmm.
But a lot of filmmakers today don't filmmakers and game makers don't really understand the balance to be achieved between that.
Yeah, which is a shame. You know, I actually just found one of the topics we were talking about. When we were writing notes about how things were kind of starting to feel like they're just aping one another and being something popular. Let's talk about when they started like really seriously doing that. Remember 2000, like I brought up 2014 when I said I blamed YouTubers because everything happened to become screamer bait, and then oh look, everything's Five Nights at Freddy's now.
Yeah. And every single horror game and every single like major horror game is like, what if Chuck E. Cheese, but evil?
Evil. Yeah, sort of like Mermaid Man.
Evil!
Yup. Okay, I should probably stop because I could just do that one all night.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't want to wear out the joke.
Yeah. Oh man, speaking of jokes, remember that one very obvious Five Nights at Freddy's parody, which was One Night at Flumpty's?
Oh, yeah, that was made by the same guy who did Riddle School, right?
I maybe? I don't know. I don't that one doesn't really sound familiar to me.
Oh man, back in the day, an old Flash game series, point and click adventure game, just escape a school. Very, very popular.
Ah,
You could see all sorts of video essays about it, but yeah, I think that the whole like Flumpties thing was what is it? John Chrome?
oh man, Jonachrome.
John
Remember
Yeah,
that?
Jonachrome.
Like
One
so
Night
many
at
good
Flumpties. Yeah,
games.
yeah, he's the guy who made Riddle School.
Like that dude like did just some awesome games. Like Jonachrome, man. Like I remember like just going playing Flash games. Remember the Y8 site, which was a Flash
Uh,
game aggregator?
which one?
Y8,
I
which got acquired by X Videos before Flash games went defunct.
really?
Yeah,
I I've never heard of them, and that is a wild thing to hear about them first.
oh yeah, like Y8. Like I used to go on there all the time. Cause like one of my friends was like, hey, what's you want to know a good site for playing Flash games? Go on to Y8. And I went on about 2 or 3 years before Flash games started to be a thing. So it's still hair young to be knowing about X videos, but it says, oh yeah, we are now owned by X videos. Check out their adult Flash games as well as the main website. And it was like, huh. Well, anyways, I'm gonna go play Potty Racers.
Oh yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
crazy how
Flash
times
games were
change.
great. Uh, they they were apparently easy enough for the average person to make, but also they could be simple enough for kids to understand them, which I guess tie it back to the Club Penguin from way back at the start. There's a serious loss of good games for kids.
And that is a shame too, because like once they started taking down, your Kids Zooey, I don't know if you remember that one.
Kidzooey?
Yeah, like it was this whole platform that even had like its own dedicated browser. It was entirely geared towards kids. It had a chat function that was pretty limited. It had a whole shitload of games. And it even had like kid-friendly articles and like all sorts of features. This would have been like around
Hmm.
the late Windows XP. Well, I say late Windows XP, but like in that kind of transitional period between Windows XP and Windows Vista, just like in those kind of awkward years, like I'd like to say, '07, maybe '06, may have been later than that, to about 2010, may have been a little bit longer, could have been less, but that's like what I remember them. And
Hmm.
like they had all sorts of stuff. Like they even had a definitely not at all legal ROM of the original Super Mario Bros. Back when just Mario Bros. As well as so many cool things, including like pretty good dogfight games and what have you. And like this was like a whole dedicated thing towards kids. Like there were all sorts of these things like that. Even Windows came logged with stuff like Purple Place and what have you. If you remember that one for Vista.
No, I don't think I ever used Vista. I went basically straight from XP to 7.
Ah, fair. I did Vista, well, XP, Vista 7, 8, 10, 11, and then Linux. And like like the Vista era had like a lot of actually like really good shit for kids. Like there was, Kids Zooey, like I mentioned. There were games that actually came with Vista, like Purple Place, and I think that may have been it. Probably softwares or solitaire. I mean, still, but like there were like whole dedicated kid spaces, and then it all just started getting taken away from kids, and it's like, what the hell gives? Why are you guys taking away all these kid spaces? Like I even tweeted about this a couple times a few years ago, and it's like, you're trying to. It feels like they're trying to punish children because adults aren't the best, and it's like, what's the point? Like that's entirely farcical to do. Like make it make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then it pushes the kids into the adult spaces where all sorts of bad things happen. You
Uh huh.
you need to have the kids have their walled off play place so that way they can do their thing, they can have their fun, and that's not to say that there are no good interactions that can come between children and adults, but those need to be very heavily monitored for the children's safety.
It's one of the
And
reasons, like, sorry to cut in here, but it's one of the reasons why I resent all these YouTubers who, like, in 2020, may have been a little bit earlier, but this is when I really started seeing it happen. Like, in 2020, all these YouTubers just started playing Roblox all of a sudden, despite the fact that had been
yeah,
prior a kids-related, just like an entirely, kid-friendly space, minus, unfortunately, all the sick fucks, because, you have a place with kids. Unfortunately, you're gonna see sick fucks. Hope if you got,
yeah.
like people actually moderating, like there's a lot less. But sadly, with Roblox, the rot was already setting in with your types like Shedletsky and what have you. It is what it is, and it's not like they're gonna do better with
Yeah.
the investors in it. But I hold out hope that they'll start kicking out the adults and start doing what's right.
Yeah, they they really need to, but at this point it's difficult to create that new kid space because we've been without it for so long and there's so low trust.
Another thing, like even if not for just the kids spaces, start actually making, kids media again, not shitty media for stunted adults slash man children and Disney adults. Like start making media for kids again, not stuff that's condescending and treats kids like they suffer from some form of mental retardation, but something for like kids that treats them smart, like Looney Tunes. Like hell, give the kids back their Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Top Cat, Felix the Cat, even friggin' Duck Dodgers. Like give them all these shows back, so that way they have media that actually treats them like they're intelligent, thinking individuals rather than just the most condescending, made for the mentally stunted crap again. And like it, maybe my opinions are a little too strong here, but I genuinely think Oh, apologies, just got a hair caught in my throat. I genuinely think seeing like I think this issue kind of really started like with cartoons when they started taking away Looney Tunes and whatnot back in 2010 and 2011 because it was, if you'll notice the air quotes here, too violent, and then they started taking away Three Stooges and what have you. Once that started happening, that's when we started seeing all the disappearance of kids spaces because they also use that as an excuse to crack down and start removing all this stuff, and it was never right. Like it never made sense to me. Like why'd they do this?
Yeah.
Apologies for
And
being so long-winded there. It's just, oh man, like that one's just always just on my brain, especially seeing just how this just keeps getting worse and worse, you know?
yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately there's not enough money in making stuff exclusively for kids. You strangely need the money from the stunted adults as well.
But
Otherwise, it's just not a good investment. But everything always comes back to the freaking return on investment.
yeah, and it's a
Which,
shame.
yeah, businesses need return on investment to survive. It's just very sad that we don't even get to enjoy anything anymore because of that.
Yep.
Everything has to be super safe.
When that's one of the reasons why, despite the fact Japanese media tends to be extremely samey now, like I do hold respect for some of the few holdouts that are still trying to strike against the grain, like going back to the subject at the beginning, tokusatsu, your Kamen Rider, which just recently saw massive success with ZEZTZ, Zez, something like that, and then even like Super Sentai with whatever the hell its most recent series is. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but like we're seeing massive success for that because while it is kind of geared towards kind of kid-ish teens, and even so that way adults can appreciate it, like it's not playing it safe. Like it's playing it like it's going against the grain. It's doing something reasonable that actually, while it is still selling toys and whatnot, like it's doing it in a way that doesn't feel insulting. Like it's reasonable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I I think so. Even though I haven't like seen this specific thing that you're talking about, I only fairly recently started getting into anime. I never had anything against it, but it's just I was never inundated with all of that. So it's something I didn't really pick up
That's fair.
until much later in life.
I never got into anime until I'd like to say 2011 or 12, and I started with actually no, I think it's actually when I was younger because that one Teen Titans show, which got me interested in Hajime no Ippo and then Dragon Ball Z and Inuyasha, which just happened to have reruns around the same time that I'd be wanting to watch Teen Titans on the DVR, which I know Teen Titans technically is an anime, but the style was
Right.
close enough, it was enough of a gateway to get me to actually start looking into other media back in the day, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it was anime inspired,
Exactly. And it was enough to be like, huh.
which yeah, I personally don't consider myself to have gotten into anime until like 2017, 2018.
I mean, nothing wrong with
uh
that, dude. Like, as much as I
yeah,
talk about anime, I don't even like watch that or even live action stuff for the most part anymore because I just don't really have the time. As much as I'd love to just sit down and watch something like that, it's like I can't. So like for the most part, like I don't even play video games. Like when I say I only have my computer on for like a couple hours a day, I mean like because that's all I have the time to do. So it's like I can't
yeah,
just sit here and be like how a lot of these folks on Twitter will not seem to be, how they when they can just go through entire series in a day. Like how does anyone have the time for that?
yeah. And I, knowing how new I am, I do not try to act like I'm any sort of authority on how anime has been or how anime should be. I, I, I don't act like a tourist.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I respectfully like engage with it on its own terms.
Yeah.
Um, I I did read all of Promise Neverland in like 2 days though.
I mean, fair
Uh,
enough. Like, reading is kind of one of those things. Like, I have a condition known as hyperlexia, which is but quite literally the exact opposite of dyslexia. So, like, I can just, if I really want to, like, I can consume a couple really, really large books if I want to, in the span of like a day if I really wanted to, and I could like go through a whole library. Okay, now I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but if I want to, like, I could in a month. Like, so yeah, no, I'm not about to shame you for that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, dude.
oh no, no, nothing at all. Especially because like it was over a weekend, so I didn't really have anything that I needed to do anyway. Um, but like I enjoyed it for the most part, but there was something in it that just really rubbed me the wrong way. Uh, I can always talk about that another time for like a more appropriate topic, if we want to bring it back to anything from before.
I mean, I know we another thing we talked about uh, like let's talk about punkflation as you called it.
Oh yeah, punkflation. My unique term that I've never seen anyone else uh I talk about, because I've seen people talk about cloud punk
Which I still have no idea
and
what the hell cloud punk is.
it it's dang, yeah, exactly. I can't really define it.
There's only like
I
three
just
punks I can tell you what they are: Cyber, Diesel, and Steam. Other than that, I couldn't tell you a damn thing.
Yeah, that one. Geez, I can't remember what game you mentioned, but
Uh,
it called
oh,
itself Brine Punk,
oh,
which just felt
Abyssus.
like a
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, Abyssus, which called itself Brine Punk, and that just felt like an offshoot of kind of Steam, kind of Diesel Punk, because it's trying to like ape BioShock's aesthetic, which I I wouldn't really consider BioShock to be brine punk.
no,
That's
it's a weird
ridiculous.
mishmash between Steam and Diesel.
Yeah, it's just like, and there's only like one singular game that ever fits these insane tiny subgenre, and then you never see it again, so it's never really developed. I
Yeah,
mean, technically, a game that I was praising so much early, a game that I was praising so much earlier, Frostpunk. Uh, but even then, that's just in the name. You look at how it works, and no, that's very much like a steampunk setting. It's just the entire world is frozen.
yep.
So it it is very much building off of the steampunk aesthetic and themes, while bringing it into a completely new look as well. Like, oh, a completely apocalyptic winter. How does this society survive?
Which
what
is
what
really
tough
cool.
choices do they have to make?
Mm-hmm. And it's a shame that more like things like don't try something like that as opposed to being like overly niche and hyper specific. Because like, wow,
Yeah,
cool, we got insert shitty overly specific thing. Meanwhile, all these genres which realistically give it its lifeblood, nah, don't need that.
yeah.
And then,
And
oh sorry.
there's nothing wrong with taking the punk aesthetic and then just not taking the punk genre. Like, that is totally fine if that's what they want to do. Like, hey, we like this aesthetic and we think it works well with the gameplay, blah 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 blah. But they try to but when they name it brine punk, then it's like, okay, you're trying to make this a thing now, but you don't really have anywhere to go with it.
How long
Like,
until
to
someone
the end.
lampoons this whole thing and just calls something punk punk, you think?
That and yeah, that will be the end state of all irony.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll sell a bajillion copies, and then punk punk will actually become kind of a thing
Oh
that everyone
lordy.
apes. It'll be the duty calls. of the modern age.
No, COD of Duty, the premier shooting fish in a barrel simulator, which is a real thing, by the way.
And is that what I thought I was referencing?
Maybe no, but
Or
there was this one indie game that was like popular for a short while in the 2010s because the Yogs cast, like back when they were still like really kind of in their early stages. You know, it was just Lewis and Simon doing their whole thing on YouTube, where they would check out different indie games, and they genuinely played one that was called COD of Duty. And like I said, like its whole thing was you were shooting fish in a barrel.
oh, that is that's interesting. But yeah, it those sort of like joke games that you're really not meant to take seriously, but if there weren't so many of them, then it would be more bearable.
Yeah. But instead, it feels like we either get like stuff that is entirely unbearable because it's just this post irony dripping with all that kind of just slop, for lack of better words, despite the fact that word's been overused to hell and back, or something that tries to be serious but just kind of falls short. And it's like, you know, like what happened to people actually being experimental again, and like to bring back one of your subjects. You know what I mean?
The incestuous nature of game development.
Yeah. Hell, that's actually a pretty good topic to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, back to games are made by people who played games, not by people who had experiences, which is the same sort of issue that people who write books fall into. Books are written by people who read books, not by people who went out and did stuff.
Except for the whole woman's romance genre, which is, hey, yes, I'm being milked by a minotaur now. I'm in a farm.
Now she's the one doing the milking.
No,
Heyo!
not the one I was talking about, man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, like
Oh,
this person's like on basically a Minotaur ranch. Like if like from what I understand, like it's been a while since I saw the tweet, so I do bear with me if I get some of the details wrong. There might be someone who gives a shit enough to correct me in comments. But basically, like this person finds a Minotaur. The city's slicker or rant who becomes a ranch or whatever. Like there's just this whole thing. Like what is it now? With women, romance that's like all I fell in love with X/Y fantasy creature that is, and it's either something that's really kind of rapey, for lack of better words, or something that's just really like niche, over specific kind of fantasy stuff. Despite being in the modern world, like it really feels like someone just pulled up their high school archive of our own accounts and we're just like, yes, this fic from way back when I never finished, we're selling it now at Barnes and Noble. Like, what were they thinking?
no idea.
Like, to go back, for people who didn't have experiences, I think that's why the racing genre got ruined back in the day. Even had it not been for like the Forza Horizon series, and then just basically Gran Turismo and Forza winning the racing game battle. Like it feels like even if it weren't for that, that things would have just died entirely for racing
Yeah,
because
the racing fandom is dying. Smash the like button and hit subscribe if you're a true racist.
okay, not quite like that. Look, man, we gotta wear your helmet behind the wheel, not the pointy hood. All right,
uh,
that's for the
uh,
cookout.
uh,
No,
I'm
but
I'm
seriously though,
just a I'm just a meerkat drinking a ginger beer.
something like that. But like, it feels like that we just don't have any like proper driving games because like it feels like you said, no one just like actually experiences things before they develop, and at that point, why even like make games? Why not just write a book about playing games or whatever? Everyone else is writing a book.
Yeah.
Like no one sees the forest for the trees.
Times are bad. Children no longer listen to their parents, and everyone's writing a book.
I mean,
Cicero, the year like 6.
I mean, considering the lack of parental accountability, which is a subject I could go on and on and on for hours, yeah, kind of one of those things. Like, people aren't listening to their parents, but at the same time, considering the bad job parents are doing, makes me wonder, what are we gonna see in like the next couple generations? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. All I can really do is have children with my wife and and raise those children to be better. And ultimately, it comes down to people who see the problem do have to try and outpace the slop, which I'm not going to lie is going to be very difficult,
Incredibly.
but that's really the only solution. Sitting back and accepting defeat forever is not a solution. So I plan to do everything that I can in order to make the future better, not just for myself, but also for the children that I wish to have.
Yeah, makes sense. So that is a meerkat then in your picture, right?
Yeah, so I actually I won that stuffed animal. This is a photo that I myself took. I was in Australia as part of work, and there was a little carnival in the local town, and so I won it from the shooting gallery, and then I just took that picture at the local bar, got a ginger beer, and thought, that's pretty neat. Uh, m- the dang. Yeah, so I used to have a different profile picture for my Twitter account, which was the that same meerkat wearing my sunglasses.
Okay,
Yeah. But I I just liked this picture a little bit better.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So out of, oh, sorry, you
That
first.
that bit of work was pretty all right.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm glad to hear it's pretty alright. So you said you've never played Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal?
Yeah, I actually haven't played any Doom games whatsoever, which is kind of funny because, like I said, family friend is actually pretty high up at Bethesda Softworks. He's actually a VP there, so it's yeah.
I see.
And my family received our Xbox 360 for free from him with the like little plate in front of it uh, for um, for like people who develop games for the 360. It has it has like a special unique front that even says like launch party.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents still have that one.
Does it still
It's
work?
yeah. Surprisingly, it never red ringed and it is still occasionally used to this day.
That's awesome.
Mostly it's just like a DVD player though.
I mean, fair enough. Like the PS2, like if we're talking consoles that are DVD players, the PS2, man, next to kin was a hell of a thing to watch on it. That and Dirty Dancing. Oh man, good times.
Y- Yeah, I we used to have a PlayStation 2, but then my dad installed it directly into one of the cars that we had, and then later sold that car, which included the PlayStation 2. So for a long time, I never got to finish the game Ty the Tasmanian Tiger because it required a PS2 to launch, and we never got a PlayStation 3. We switched to Xbox.
Ah, fair. I mean, if it makes you feel
So,
better, sadly, when it came to the PS3, like it was only like a couple of specific models that you could actually play the PS3 games on because apparently the developer hated money,
yeah.
which
I mean,
that's
I did
still
eventually get to
chaps. But
finish Ty the Tasmanian Tiger because it was put on Steam.
oh, nice. I just mostly
Yeah.
emulate because like a lot of the games like I grew up with and that I enjoyed, I can no longer play because like the disk drive either died on my console or I mean they just don't sell the games anymore. Or if they do, it's like
Yeah.
where I have modern hardware. It's not like I can actually play the games because it is like it requires some niche and hyper specific setups for a lot of these for them to actually run right. Unless I go for the
Yeah,
remasters, which tend to be just worse in every way than the original games. And it's like, at that point, why even play? You know what I mean?
I was actually pretty unhappy with the Spyro remake.
I still haven't played it. Like I played the Spyro games back in the day. I ended up
Yeah,
selling
I
those
can
a
see that you've
couple.
launched it for 2 minutes total.
Yeah, I tried and I was like, man, this shit is just not for me. It felt like I don't know, like it felt like kind of stepping into like a warped mirror, or a funhouse slash broken mirror of my childhood. That's why I don't play any of the Crash games either, which I think I do have Crash on here, don't I? Yes, I do actually have Insane Trilogy, but I don't even know if I actually launched it.
Oh, neat.
Nope. Yeah, what? Actually, 1 whole minute apparently.
Yeah, the only Crash game I played is apparently the worst one because it was on Xbox.
The worst
It
Crash
was
game.
Wrath of Cortex.
I've heard okay things about Wrath of Cortex, so maybe it wasn't that bad.
It, it, I mean, apparently the entire Crash series has been pretty good, so to be the worst of that franchise isn't all that bad, all things considered.
For real. We're talking.
Uh,
Oh,
it,
sorry, you first.
it was just like the most underwhelming of them. It's not that it was bad, it's that all the power-ups were kind of boring. Like, ooh, you need to tiptoe in order to walk on the nitro crates. Like that's a power-up.
I mean, could be worse, I guess.
Yeah, like all things considered, it could have been so much worse. It's just when you're in a franchise of such heavy hitters, being being a 7 out of 10 when everyone else is a 9 out of 10 is apparently the worst thing ever. But if your worst game in a franchise of like 6 games is a 7, I think that you are doing pretty darn all right.
Agreed. Yeah,
But my problem with Spyro is not all the and well, I do take issue with all the like censorship changes, but
censorship is the worst damn thing.
my biggest issue with it, however, is a fundamental problem with it because Spyro is a 3D platformer and the controls feel way floatier than the PS1 version. On the PS1, the controls felt really tight, very responsive. Anything that I wanted to do, it felt like the game was reacting to me very quickly. The remake feels just off. Like I'm controlling him underwater-ish, or not fully underwater, but like ankle high water. So it just feels wrong.
I think that's why I dislike a lot of platformers. Because, like, it's either like you're kind of underwater or like the floor is on, like, brand new tile, so it's really slippery, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, like they don't ever quite get the controls as tight as they want. Although, uh, I did own Epic Mickey for the Wii, and I am actually quite happy with the remake for it. It feels good. It feels just like it did on the Wii, and even though you can't get that point at the screen control on the PC, oh yeah, released 2024, neat. Uh, Even though you can't get that point at the screen, I do have controllers because some games just feel better with a controller. Some games feel better with keyboard and mouse. Epic Mickey is one of those games that feels much better with a controller, and all the controls feel really tight. So Mickey goes wherever I want him to go. He feels like he's responsive, very responsive to what I'm doing. And anytime I mess up in platforming, it feels like I messed up, not that the controls didn't respond.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And that is the most important thing about a platformer. You can you can paint it however you want. Haha, funny. You can dress it up however, but at its base, it is a platformer. If platforming does not feel good, you have failed.
That's why I don't like most Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's going to be a
There's
controversial take, but it feels like most Metroidvanias just fail on the basic platforming.
Yep.
Well, also on a lot of other things,
I
but really the
I really
platforming.
like Cave Story.
I've heard good things about Cave Story.
Hey, I mean, you can probably still download the original for free, but like even so, uh the the Cave Story Plus version is not that expensive. Where is it? I have it somewhere. Yeah, Cave Story Plus, $15 on sale right now for 11.24. You know, it's I'd still say that's worth it.
Okay. Sorry, pardon.
I'd
Okay.
I'd still say that $15 is worth it for the Cave Story experience. It's old, it's really old, but it it feels good to play.
Top
There's
review.
there's just enough balance between momentum and responsiveness.
Would you like to hear the top review for Cave Story Plus?
Go ahead.
I want to have sex with Curly Brace, that is all.
Same. Uh, I actually have a costume of the main character. Quote. Uh, because specifically of his hard mode color scheme, because I, because then I don't have to do any makeup. Because quote in the hard mode has blonde hair.
I see.
So, and I used to have really long hair before before my previous job. My hair went down between my shoulders. It was wild. I looked like a blonde Shaggy from Scooby Doo because they even had the goatee and everything.
Zoinks!
Like Soink Scoob. And um, just to lean into the joke, I even had a pair of like dark brown cargo pants and an oversized green shirt. I
Nice.
I would just lean into. I knew that I looked a bit like a live action version of him, so I just leaned into it.
Fair enough. How many people asked where your Great Dane was?
No one.
I see. So, out of curiosity, another topic. Let's see. You mentioned, this, bugs to features when it comes to games. What would you say is the like one of the genres that's been worst affected by things that had been bugs becoming features?
Mm, I don't actually know. I can't really think of any games off the top of my head about and where where like they base their entire game around a bug that became a feature later, just because you don't really realize that a bug became a feature until way later, and the developers talk about like, oh yeah, we had some difficulties with this, but then we found out it was actually really fun.
Might I point out one of the most famous examples of bugs to features, which I'm sure you are well aware of? Grand Theft Auto.
Really.
Yes,
I,
it was originally going to
I,
be like a thing
I'm sure
called.
that like I heard something about it, but refresh my memory.
Okay, so this is, going off of memory from me, so bear with me a second. So basically, like, there was going to be this whole thing back when they were DMA design that was basically like a cops and robbers type game. However, when it came to busting, like people, there was a bug where, the cops, like, from what I understand, like, would actually, try to destroy you or, or your character. So, like, I guess they liked that bug so much, basically, it became its own thing, and then it eventually evolved into what became the first top-down Grand Theft Auto game.
Hmm.
Yeah, because like Grand Theft Auto, for those of you guys listening to this who are unaware, because y'all are whippersnappers, and Grand Theft Auto has been around since your parents or your grandparents were kids, or
Yeah, and GTA 5 is just a racing game these days.
if don't remind me. Ah, but like it used to be a top-down kind of 2.5D-ish open world game. Like, yeah, you could steal cars still, you could, still be semi-violent. But I mean, the first one was more like kind of an arcadey kind of game, and the second one, while it was kind of an arcadey game, was more, while still being top down, was a lot closer to like what we recognize nowadays as Grand Theft Auto. Except there were, factions, and there were, like, well, I mean, there were factions now, but like the way those were handled even were far different than what we had now, and it was based in, the the future and in a place called Anytown, USA, rather than being, like even near the Grand Theft Auto we know and love now. Like before it became the Grand Theft Auto we loved now, love and know now, like it was basically an entirely different thing, even back in the PS2 days. And then we didn't get anything even similar to like the PS1 Grand Theft Auto games until Chinatown Wars, if you remember that one.
I'll be honest, I've never actually played a GTA game.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah,
Huh. I'm surprised.
my yeah, my brother played GTA 5. That was the first one that our family actually owned, but I never actually touched a GTA game.
I think the only GTA games I haven't played are the expansions London 69 and London 63, and then like full GTA 2. Like the only GTA 2 I've played is just the PC demo about 14 years ago, I'd like to say.
Hmm.
Hell, it used to actually be up on Steam a little while. Grand Theft Auto 2 was, and then they ended up taking it down for some reason. So like you if you want to play GTA 2 nowadays, you either got to go onto an abandonware website, or you got to really hope that you can like secure an old console copy for the Dreamcast version or the PS1 version. And even then, it's like
Hmm.
pretty hard to find, from what I understand.
Yeah,
Which, oh, actually,
even on like the ROM sharing sites.
on the ROM sharing sites, it's extremely easy to find. But like, I mean, like if you want to find it in the real
Right.
world,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
it really is a shame how developers just end up abandoning their games as well, and then you have to go to the ROM sharing sites to just to play them, just to even keep them alive.
which is one of the reasons why I'm surprised Koei Tecmo is doing Dynasty Warriors 3, Complete Edition Remastered. Or, yeah, Complete Edition Remastered, because, like, most people, like, especially, like, in the couple of Koei fan servers I'm in, were like, nah, they're probably doing 4 or 5. But no, instead they decided to do Dynasty Warriors 3, which, I mean, fair enough, but I can't help but worry, considering Koei Tecmo's track record for their actual games. I can't help but worry they're going to really screw up this remaster. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like companies really just keep either doing decent remasters or doing something that is so alien from what it is attempting to emulate that it's, like, just not even evocative of anything except for just de- desecration, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I and I guess to tie this to a previous thing about like piracy and whatnot, because like if the company is not going to give you any legal options, then I have absolutely zero qualms with piracy. Um, but I also agree with the Gabe Newell stance that piracy is mostly a service issue as well,
Agreed.
because because we've just reinvented cable with all the streaming services. So of course, I don't want to pay for 27 different streaming services to watch one show on each of them. That that's just not realistic. The market was so much better when Netflix was a monopoly. Hulu was actually king for a while because it had both the free with ads option and the premium. So, but those two together had basically everything you could ever want, and it was so much cheaper than cable.
It
But
was
then
better.
all the different companies were like, "Hey, we can split off because we have the most popular show on X streaming service." So people will totally pay for an entire other streaming service just to watch one show. and then it split, and then it split, and now nobody knows how to watch anything. Just look at the official guide for how to watch the Pokemon anime, and you will you'll just give up.
Nah, dude, that's
And
one of the reasons why I advocate for two things in general. The purchase of physical media. If you can afford it and you have the player plus the room, get physical media. Otherwise, I do while I won't advocate for piracy because, well, I don't need the feds on my ass, I fully understand it because yeah, it's a service issue and at the end of the day, it it's fully understandable with how everything is just so balkanized nowadays. Like, wow, cool. There's 99 different streaming services and not a damn thing on them.
yeah, and funny enough, PC gaming went through that entire cycle very quickly because like various various groups had their own launcher. Steam came along and basically combined all of them with a much better service, and then all the individual game companies were once again like, "Hey, why don't we make our own launcher for this?" And then it balkanized again, and then they all collapsed and had to go back to Steam.
There's only two actual launchers that I know of that I would say are going to actually survive this latest round of balkanization. Steam
GOG and Steam.
and Epic. GOG I
Oh,
don't think will survive as a launcher, but I fully believe will survive as a website.
okay.
And the reason I say that is
I
because the GOG launcher is a fucking nightmare.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
I think that GOG will survive.
oh
I
yeah,
don't think it'll ever have like the biggest market share, but I think GOG will be like it'll be like the Opera to Internet Explorer and Google Chrome.
fully agreed because like I said, I don't believe that GOG's launcher will survive, but I believe its website and its service will because where they do the whole DRM free thing, especially if you're like me in an area where internet, like even if you do have like gigabit speeds is still really spotty. Like I believe stuff like GOG is going to still provide a very invaluable service even if we don't keep the launcher.
Yeah,
'Cause, like people bitch about, oh no DRM, oh it must be piracy, but like no, it's preservation. Like despite the fact that people say oh like you're pirating, like that's gotta be like not illegitimate entirely. But like I know people who genuinely like make the argument that it isn't, that for some folks it is genuinely about game preservation. And for those types, like I do actually see especially with how people are trying to do like video game museums, like why they do make the arguments because at the end of the day, considering that the physical media is dying because of a phenomenon, did I say phenomenon? I meant
yeah.
phenomenon known as
Do,
disc rot.
do, 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 do.
But like if we with stuff like disc rot, like we're gonna end up seeing a lot of things actually stored in a digital form just because the actual media itself is wasting away. So, if you guys watching this happen to have DVDs, CDs, Blu-rays, look them over. Check for disc rot because it is a far more common thing than you guys realize. Even like Blu-rays have not escaped unscathed. They still do fall victim to disc rot.
Yeah, reminds me of that. I forget the channel name, but it's the guy who just like talks about all sorts of like weird technology, and he talked about the failure of the single-use DVD.
Was that LGR maybe?
Uh, I forget. I genuinely can't remember the channel, but yeah, like it was a DVD that was designed to be destroyed by your DVD player after you played it once, so you could just toss it.
I mean, at that point, like, why would you even buy something like that? Maybe I'm too spoiled by stuff
Because it
like.
was it was specifically designed to be like a cheap rental service, pre-Netflix.
I mean, fair enough, but that just seems very foolish to me, even like now.
Technology Connections.
Oh, hey, I remember Technology Connections. That's the guy
That's the
who
channel.
talked
Yeah.
about swamp coolers a couple times.
Maybe I mean the guy has a lot of videos, so I wouldn't doubt it. But
Swamp
yeah,
coolers
yeah.
being the portable AC scam.
Oh,
You know, like the ones that like the
wild.
really small coolers that market themselves as portable ACs, but are just like really crappy swamp coolers.
No, I've never heard of that. That's gonna be a great thing to check out.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Flex Play, the disposable DVD that failed, thankfully. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it they were even trying to come for your physical media, but yeah, DVDs were not designed to last forever, and they even found a way to make them last even less time.
Makes me wonder like what we're gonna see to replace the Blu-ray in the future because let's be real, those ain't lasting forever either because again, due to the fact that we still haven't solved the disc rot phenomena, but people still crave physical media. Like what's gonna be the
Yeah.
replacement in the future?
I mean, really the only possible replacement is just digitally store your files,
Yeah.
which kind of which even then hard disk drives are not forever. I'm Even though they haven't been around for long enough to really test that, I doubt that solid state drives are going to be around forever either.
Oh, solid
You
state
just kind of
drives
have to keep.
absolutely won't be because they have a set read and write limit.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, from what I understand, when it comes to solid state drives, like yes, you can use them. However, they do have a shelf life, and another thing I understand is even if it weren't for the read write limit, they are not designed to be left just sitting around somewhere. Like that's actually detrimental to their health. Like they're meant to be just
Yeah.
used, and even then, eventually, you know, their day will come because those do deteriorate with a noticeable speed.
All right. Yeah, like the only real answer is to just keep on moving digital files from older storage devices to newer storage devices.
Or ironically, the VHS, or even just tape storage in general. Like there are companies that sell stuff, long-term storage, called like LTO tapes, and like those can hold, terabytes upon terabytes. Now, granted, they're not meant to be used like, like just constantly, but like that is another form of storage. And there's also companies coming up with quartz discs, amongst other things, like just little quartz discs, which is an interesting thing. Makes me wonder what we're going to see in the future after quartz discs and LTO eventually. You know,
That's when you'll be able to get my holiday album, Nuclear Winter Wonderland. Find it on holotape.
probably not too inaccurate with the way everything's going. Though considering they keep
Yeah.
like every now and again hinting to, oh hey, your DNA in your blood holds terabytes upon terabytes of data. One cum shot is the equivalent to like I think it was like a fair couple of terabytes
Oh
as
yeah, like
well.
1.2 terabyte.
Yeah, it's like, if they're doing that, for all we know, the next data medium is just rubbing one out. Like, hey, you want the next you want this whole TV series? Yeah, I got you, friend. You can't see the vigorous wrist motions, but I assure you they are happening.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
who knows?
I almost wonder like how long until like where they are hinting that we are presumably going to be able to start storing stuff in our, in our DNA, like how long until we see some form of super cancer because someone decided to write a virus for that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Because if they're hinting that seriously about it, that means something like that is in the woodwork. Which, yay! Cyberpunk dystopia. But in this case, not the
Yeah.
fun kind where we're wearing trench coats and eating ramen noodles in Chinatown.
It'll
Man,
never be that kind.
I know it is a shame. I'm sorry to kind of bring things into kind of politics. Um, that was entirely
I
unintentional.
really didn't consider that to be the politics portion.
Yeah,
That's just kind
fair.
of like, yeah. Yeah, I that's kind of why I liked being able to finish the game that I mentioned earlier, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, because it was sold on Steam. In fact, the developers, Chrome Studios, actually remade the game using like its old code and assets. Apparently they had the source code or something, but they just had to like rewrite it to actually function on modern hardware, and they just put it up on Steam, and it it works really darn well. I I'm very glad that they were able to help us preserve that game well forever.
Yeah, it's very nice to see.
Yeah, a developer actually going back to one of their really old games and then just like, okay, we're gonna remake this and bring it to a new platform so that way it can be just enjoyed forever.
It's one of the reasons why I kind of have mixed feelings on Night Dive Studios. Because, like, on one hand, it's a good thing, that they are working on, re-releasing old games, but unfortunately, some of the times when they do these, re-releases slash enhanced editions or what have you, like, there tends to be a bit wrong with them. To bring up not that recent of an example, but still one that is rather prescient. Did you ever play Forsaken back in the day?
I did not.
Okay. Well, that was one that Night Dive actually got their hands on to remaster, and while it is a fun game, unfortunately the Night Dive release is very broken and buggy,
Mm-mm.
and people kind of don't talk about it. But the Forsaken remaster, like, it's kind of got a lot wrong with it because it will just randomly crash on you, and when Night Dive does their re-releases, from what I understand, they don't actually go back to, fix any bugs that are on the game. So like, even apparently they're one of their more recent releases, like the Thing remastered. Apparently, it's got some pretty serious problems too. Like when I saw the Lord Mandalore video, I was actually quite surprised.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, but like, seems like just re-releases are a mixed bag. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Which like I very much miss the it's a certain game that I have for my PlayStation 1. I very much missed like the 3DO Army Men franchise. And on Steam you can get like the um the sort of RTS games from that franchise,
Okay.
but it is a pain to get them to work correctly.
Unfortunate.
And like the games that I actually played on my PlayStation 1 aren't available anywhere on Steam or any like typical legitimate means.
Yeah, it's a
I
shame.
I would kind of like to just learn learn how to program games and then just remake Sarge's Heroes 1 and 2 and then Air Attack 1 and 2. I think that just for myself, I I would like to do that and then not let anyone else play it for fear of all sorts of cease and desist that I would receive.
I get it, dude. Like, there's so many games I used, that I grew up with, like Bushido Blade 1 and 2. Don't know if you remember those games.
Definitely not.
Bushido Blade was a fighter from back in the day in a 3D space. It was pretty fun. It was like one of the OG weapon fighters, except you get hit just once by the weapon, that they were wielding. Like, there was a selection, and you would actually end up dying. So,
What's a weapon fighter?
stuff like, Soul Calibur.
Okay.
Yeah. Except, because it like because of the way Bushido Blade was done, for one, there was very slow movement because, well, it was a PS1 fighter. I don't know of a single one with actually fast movement. But seriously, was there actually any PS1 games where, if you were doing the fighting, except for like Street Fighter, was like fast movement at all? Like, at least when it was like in the 3D spaces, because like I can't think of a single one where you weren't basically inching your way forward to fight. Like, even like maybe Mortal Kombat 4 actually, but that was a whole different thing. That was, despite being kind of 3D characters, it didn't kind of feel like a PS1 era fighter because it's like for the most part those were all just really slow and sluggish, except for
Hmm.
maybe Tekken. Like anyways, Bushido Blade, um, like was one I'd love to see brought back in the modern era, but I feel like the developers would screw it up somehow. So like if I could learn how to code, I'd probably see about making those in the Road Rash games, like for my own personal usage.
Yeah.
Because like sure we got Road Redemption like 10 years ago, but that shit is not Road Rash, not even a spiritual successor. That is its own really just not good project. Like I'm sorry to any Road Redemption fans out there, but as a fan of Road Rash from back in the day, it does not hold up. Which it's a shame. Ah well, live and learn, right?
Hanging on the Edge of Tomorrow?
Something like that.
The only Sonic game that I've ever actually played aside from, I want to say, uh, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on like that handheld Sega thing
Which one, the Game
was
Gear,
Sonic
the
Heroes.
Nomad?
I think the Game Gear because it had like the magnifying glass thing that you could attach to it.
Okay.
I think it was the Game Gear. I didn't own that, but a relative did, and so anytime we visited that relative, I would be able to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 because I know that Tails was in it.
Okay.
Or
I
was that
know,
like,
like if we're
or
talking like
was that Sonic 3?
I know back in the day, one of my family members used to own a Game Gear. So, I was going through our storage a while ago, and I found a copy of Mortal Kombat 2 for the Game Gear.
Yep, it was definitely the Game Gear.
Game Gear was like I'm still surprised that Game Gear really didn't succeed as a console. Like we didn't see like more direct competition to Nintendo and its Game Boy. Like it genuinely
Yeah.
surprised me that Nintendo of all companies won the handheld wars, because realistically, they absolutely should not have won the handheld wars, which I know is a very probably controversial take, especially where, I used to own a Game Boy and a DS. You own a Game Boy still. Probably
I
half
own
the.
my I have my Game Boy Color right behind me. I still have my Game Boy Advance and my Advance SP. Uh, I have my DSi and my new 3DS XL out in the living room.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know it's a very controversial take, but like I still fully believe Nintendo should not have won the handheld wars because in terms of graphics and even games, I would argue Nintendo, despite having more saturation in the gaming market, had the like worst kind of everything. And I say this despite owning Nintendo Gear myself. But at the same time, then they got to take into account Sony are or is an extremely moronic company, and Sega killed itself with the Dreamcast. Because despite the fact it was doing well, Sony. Did I say Sony? I meant Sega's company was like, oh, no, shut it down. Which still makes no sense. What the hell were they thinking? Especially looking
I don't
back.
know. I wasn't really old enough to be paying attention to the
Oh, I
market at the
wasn't
time,
old
so
enough either,
yeah.
but like, you look back and you see all the stuff, all the news and whatnot from back then, and it's like, what the hell was Sega thinking?
Yeah. I know that 3DO had their own console as well, but
Oh yes, the
I
3DO, and they were gonna
yeah, I
actually make a
only
second.
had their games on PlayStation 1, so
I don't know if I had any of the 3DO games actually.
yeah, the only 3DO games I have are from the Army Men franchise,
Okay, if we're talking
where
kind
Jim
of
Cummings voices every single male character.
Jim Cummings. What other
Great
games
voice
has
actor.
what other games has he done?
He was the master in Fallout 1. Um, he was actually also Gizmo in Fallout 1.
Ah,
I
okay.
I don't know many of his other roles in games off the top of my head.
That's fair. If we're talking niche consoles for a second, do you remember the Atari Jaguar?
No, I don't.
That was, if I remember right, like Atari's last console. I may be
Hmm.
misremembering, and I'm sure there's some dude who knows anything about video games who might be able to correct me. But like from what I understand, it was Atari's last console. Like if I think it may have been disc based, but like it did so bad that the actual molds for the console ended up getting used for dental equipment.
What?
No, I'm serious here. Like they did actually get used for dental equipment, the molds for it. Which
That is wild.
for real. Like I'm like imagine like you're a game console company. You're known for doing even home computers, and then all of a sudden like you release a console that's so bad that your stuff gets used as dental equipment later on. Like does tech in the end, I suppose the boring adults got their last laugh.
Yeah, I mean, like, imagine that you are the producer of auto repair manuals, and this guy comes up to you and is like, "Hey, I have this book about space worms and drugs," and you're like, "You know what? Let's publish it." And suddenly you're the first publisher of the Dune book.
Which that is still like I wonder how that meeting actually went back in the day. Like Frank Herbert really knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, he was rejected by all those other publishers, so he got desperate and he kept on pushing. And Dune is I've only read the first book so far. I've started on Dune Messiah. It it is a really good book.
Yep.
I I I really liked I really liked Dune Part 1, and I really hated Dune Part 2, the
I
movies.
haven't. Did you see the David Lynch Dune movie yet?
The original?
Yeah.
No.
Apparently that one's pretty good. Also, I will be right back. My birds are yelling, so I'm gonna go turn off their light.
Okay, sounds good.
Feel free to keep talking. By the way, like this isn't an invite. Like this isn't me trying to be like, oh, how dare you talk or whatever. No, feel free, dude.
All right. I mean, would you still be able to hear me? Because I don't want to just kind of like be speaking into the void and then have to repeat anything I say. Yeah. All right. Let's think because
What are we thinking about?
I'm trying to think of like yeah, okay, so the reason that I didn't really like Dune Part 2 is because I don't think it understood the characters that it was trying to treat.
An
It's
interesting
it's the
take.
classic case of an adaptation where whoever's adapting the material doesn't actually fully understand the source either. Like Chani is
So,
not
Starship
supposed to be one
Troopers.
of the I haven't actually read the book or seen the movie, but from what I hear, that sounds pretty apt.
All right.
I know you keep on bringing up all these famous things, and I'm just like, yeah, I've never actually interacted with that.
This is a
But
very
I want
weird
to,
kind of like switching positions. Normally, I'm the uncultured swine.
yeah, yeah. But I, someone somewhere was bound to be the person who just missed all of this stuff, and I happen to be that one person. But I like to engage with stuff as honestly as I can. So if
That's
I
fair.
don't know anything about it, I want to be upfront about that.
That's fair. Normally, like if someone brings up a subject I don't know, because like I was pretty uncultured. Like normally, like if they're talking about it, like I'm just desperately like looking up on the wiki or whatever, like during the conversation, just so I can at least try to keep up, because I don't want to like come across rude, because
Right.
Like a
I
lot
mean,
of the time, like if
just
they enjoy
through
what they're talking about, it's like, I want to be like, yes, I am engaged. Ah, yes, this thing here. Uh-huh. Yep, cool.
yeah,
But
just through cultural osmosis, though, I do understand quite a bit about Starship Troopers, I think. Uh, in fact, with a lot of what I've seen, I actually do fundamentally agree with one of its premises of the service guarantees citizenship. And not and this is an idea that I came up with independently, kind of dig into politics. Oops. But
that's fine. I ain't about to be like,
this
how
is a
dare you?
yeah, yeah. This is a problem not just in the political space, but in all sorts of spaces where someone will come in with no investment whatsoever and decide that now whatever this space is must cater to them specifically. For me, service does not necessarily mean military, and if I recall, even in even in the Starship Troopers book, service doesn't mean military either. You can even be just a government clerk, and that counts as service, right?
I believe so. I mean, it's been at least 6 years since I've seen or read anything involving that.
Right. But the point of it is that you need to engage with this system, and that means that you need to have an understanding of it. You need to buy into it in some sort of way with your time and with your effort. You need to put in the work to understand what this is before you're given any sort of say in how it functions. Because if you just start making changes without understanding, then you're going to lead to a lot of contradictions.
That's why a lot of anime fans are like, no, fuck off, tourist. Because it's like, look, you're coming in, you know nothing about anything, and you're bringing up all this stuff when it's clear you know nothing about this. You're trying to engage dishonestly, and it's like, look, just don't. Step back, actually engage, learn about the medium rather than doing all this crap, which is entirely unrelated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I I would not go up to the person who fixes my car and say, "Hey, I want you to plug this hose in there because I do not understand how cars work." Now, if I did understand how cars work and I saw someone working on my car, I could be like, have you tried this, this, and this? Because I think the problem could be that. There's there's that engagement where you have some level of understanding. Now, maybe you don't understand everything, but you have a baseline of knowledge, and now you can get the back and forth. And if you're wrong, you can learn from it, and you know how to learn from it. And if you're right, then you can actually help the person with that fresh set of eyes.
Yeah, and yeah, something like that is really important, and it seems like most people just seemingly don't get that nowadays, and it's quite the shame.
Yeah. Yeah. People want things to cater to them immediately, but not everything is for everyone. And that once again leads right back around to the slopification of media and games where everything feels the same because the target audience is everyone rather than targeting niches.
That's one of the reasons why, like, as probably, I don't know, edgelord slash never left their parents' basement as this point sounds, like, I fully believe the Nine Inch Nails song, Every Day is Exactly the Same, is still incredibly prescient. Like, even nowadays, because, I mean, it seems like it's just, the same crap every day because no one just honestly engages with anything anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just every day is quite literally exactly the same everywhere now.
And then, of course, the creators end up feeling like Linkin Park's Numb.
Oh, oh yeah. Which, man, we
Be
are
more like
dating the
me
shit out of
and be less
ourselves.
like you.
Like, good lord, we are both dating ourselves with these references, dude.
Yeah. I, yeah.
Like,
I mean, to be fair, I already pretty much gave away my age.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I'm
if anyone
25
knows how to do
myself.
addition.
Yeah.
if anyone knows how to do addition, they can figure out how old I am based on what I said real early on.
Like, like I'm 25, but like it seems like, especially with the stuff I engage in, people seem to think I'm a lot older than I am. Like I've had people guess I'm in my 30s, almost 40, which no, despite the fact I have white in my facial hair and even some in my regular hair, now that it shows up on camera, I am still young, despite the fact it seems like my experience was so alien from everyone else. It's a very
Yeah.
weird feeling to kind of feel like there's this generational divide between me and even folks within like 2, 3 years of my age, either direction.
Yeah. Like I am a Zoomer, barely, but it never feels like I belong with either Zoomers or millennials. My older brother is a millennial,
Okay,
but we're very different as well. Even growing up in the same house, only a couple years apart, we are so different, but neither of us really fit in with our generation cutoff.
I get that. Like, when I was a kid, like I was even using VHS tapes, which nowadays, you try to show
Yes.
a kid, I say a kid, but like hell, even someone my age, which this is depressing, like a VHS tape or even a DVD player, and they won't know how to operate it. And it's like, I didn't think it was that hard. Even like CD players aren't that hard to figure out, I didn't think. But
Yeah.
you try to show it to them and they're like, "Nah, like this is hard. How what the fuck do I do, man?" It's like, "Dude, just press the button, put the disc in the tray and then press the button again. You come on, man."
Shit, I used to watch Rugrats in Paris so much on a VHS tape.
I used to watch The Lost Boys on VHS tape. I was a
Or
huge Schumacher guy.
Buzz Lightyear Star Command or Black Cauldron.
Ooh,
Ooh,
yeah.
those were good.
I had mostly live action stuff, so I was watching, James Bond movies like GoldenEye, uh or I was watching Octopussy, Tomorrow Never
Yeah.
Dies, Casino
I
Royale.
actually have I actually have Tomorrow Never Dies, the PS1 game.
I have Nightfire floating around somewhere.
I've never actually beaten the first level of Tomorrow Never Dies though.
It's understandable that game is a little hard. You ever played 007
Yeah.
Racing?
No.
That one was a rather hard, actually, PS1 game from back in the day.
Ah.
Like it was a 007 game, but like yeah, from what I understand, just from the little bit I played, because I got filtered pretty hard. Like it was
Yeah.
basically like you go to do these objectives, you use the car to do this thing or that thing. And it was like really
Yeah.
cool.
The only racing games that I have, and I use the present tense have for my PS1 are NASCAR 97, um, Disney World's Magical Kart Racing Tour, and Cool Borders 2.
I was a
If you really
huge racer
consider,
guy.
yeah, yeah, if you consider uh, Cool Borders 2 to be a racing game.
I'd say it's adjacent. Like I wouldn't call it a racing game, but I would say it is adjacent. I used to
All right.
play back in the day, my own time. Some of the Need for Speed games. I'd play. Well, I was basically broke as shit, so I was on the family computer using the Wild Tangent launcher, hoping I'd get a free coin here and there for some of the games I enjoyed. Which
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you ever remember Wild Tangent.
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, so basically, for a while back, even in the XP days, the Wild Tangent launcher would actually be like bundled with your Windows installation. So like there'd be all sorts of free games. Like there was stuff like Blaster Ball, Super Granny, Black Hawk Striker, Trade Winds, Fate. And I'm not talking the Japanese visual novels. I'm talking the Dungeon Crawler series by the same guys who would go on to make the Torchlight games.
All
Um,
right.
and there was other stuff too. Like there was even like halfway decent first-person shooters. There was hunting games, racers, of course, like the Final Drive series. Like you name it, there was probably something on there. And the best part about all these different games, even your biggest one wouldn't take more than a single gig, and as long as you had a computer that could boot your OS, you could play any of the games. So like, that back in the day, that was pretty good. So like, I could just sit
Yeah.
back and I could play like, I had this huge selection of video games. And like it's a shame we don't have something like that nowadays. Like one could argue that kind of goes back to the kids' spaces, but at the same time, people want to turn a profit. But because, the developers are only ones who played video games, not ones who experience it, like you won't even see people optimizing anymore, it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, do you see Amazon apparently digitally removed firearms from the key art for all the James Bond movies on the platform?
They removed firearms from what?
All the key art for the 007 movies on the platform. Oh,
There is no way. I mean, I believe you, but like, there's no way.
read it and weep, boyo. I'm sending it to you in Discord
What?
DMs.
What the? You can clearly see where they'd be like holding various firearms as well.
Yep.
Like
But they
the
decide.
GoldenEye one is the most egregious.
Yeah, like let me actually show you guys here on Discord real quick. Like, look at this shit. Like, they ruined the Dr. No art, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, The Spy Who Loved Me, The Man with a Golden Gun, Live and Let
Like the
Die,
man with the
Diamonds Are
golden gun
Forever.
makes no sense with the.
For real. Yeah, they even ruined On Her Majesty's Secret Service, same with Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, A View to Kill, Living Daylights, License to Kill. Those two are actually what I'd argue the most egregious. Living Daylights and License to Kill, the two most serious Bond movies with the most bloodthirsty James Bond. And made him look just like a serious looking guy, but not like in a
Yeah.
he's a spy, but more as an I'm just gonna fuck your day up kind of way. And then yeah,
Yeah, like
Goldeneye's bad. Like,
some of
dude.
them look some of them don't look too like I don't know if it normally has a firearm in it, but The World Is Not Enough, that sure, it doesn't look too James Bondy without a gun in there, but if that never had a gun in it, I could totally understand that it doesn't look too egregious. But like GoldenEye, he's blatantly holding something and it's just not there. And Octopussy looks like such an awkward way to be standing.
Yep. Like,
It,
what were they thinking? Um, yeah. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
surprised that they
Dr.
aren't.
No also,
Yeah.
yeah, Dr. No very blatantly is holding something. Spectre just has the empty holster.
Yep. It is fascinatingly stupid what they chose to do.
My dad's a huge James Bond fan,
Oh, I
so
used to be a
he.
huge Bond fan myself. Like, I had most of the movies at one point. Would even go and rent them from the local public library.
Ooh,
Yeah, good times.
yeah.
I even managed to get my hand on like from what I can tell was like the first like James Bond parody because there was actually a parody type thing they had there which was called fittingly enough Casino Royale. And this was actually a parody thing. Like it was really interesting because it ended with everyone dying. Spoiler alert for an like 75-plus-year-old movie here, but like even the
Oh
Bond penguins and
man.
whatnot went up to heaven and what have you. Like it was a fascinating thing. Like I'd never even been aware of it until I came across it at the public library. It was a VHS tape. Like let me see if I can find. Hold on. 007 Casino Royale parody that was called Casino Royale. Yep, Casino Royale from 1967. It was a James Bond parody, which was produced by Charles K. Feldman, and the plot involved a retired Sir James Bond, played by David Niven. It was actually a pretty good movie. He even had the character called Jimmy Bond, played by Woody Allen, just to show you how much of a time capsule that was. I'll actually send it to you so you can like check out the IMDb page if you'd like, or not. No
Yeah, I'll
embeds, I
open that up.
guess. Oh wow, I didn't even realize, but apparently it had Peter Sellers on it as well. Like, that is like for its time. Like, I want to read out to you guys on chat just so you guys understand just how star-studded this parody cast was. Peter Sellers, Ursula Andress, David Niven, Woody Allen, Joanna Pettit, Orson Welles, Dahlia Lavey, Deborah Kerr, William Holden, Charles Boyer, John Paul Belmondo, George Raft, John Huston, Terrence Cooper, Barbara Boucher, Gabriella Licudi, Tracy Reed, Tracy Crisp, Kurt Kasnar, Elaine Taylor, and Angela Scolar. Again, this was extremely star-studded for the time. And this was a parody. Like, that's still, like, even nowadays, just looking at that, like, very, very impressive to me.
Yeah. I will say though, I know very few actors' names, like unless they're like everywhere, I don't ever remember an actor's name,
The only reason
unfortunately.
I remember is because when I was a kid, most of my movie collection prior to getting Netflix came from yard sales. So, instead of getting insert movie here from a streaming service to watch or whatever, I was watching Elmer Gantry. I was watching, Looney Tunes or whatever was on cable at the time. Or I was watching, just insert random DVD or VHS that I'd, be lucky enough to stumble across at one of the many local yard sales. And while some were good, some were bad, it was, that's the only reason I know all these different actors. But also, Pink Panther back in the day, that's one of the reasons I know Peter Seller. You ever remember the Pink Panther movies? Like, I'm not talking the ones with, like the guy who did blues guitar, but I'm talking the older ones from the 70s.
Uh, I don't think so. I don't think, yeah. I didn't see the older ones. I only saw like the quote unquote new ones.
Fair enough. Like, they were pretty decent. Like, basically, it was a whole, thing about, jewel thief. Like, like the old movies
Yeah.
were, the gem known as the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm telling you. You're already pretty well aware. Oh yeah, like let me
Yeah, I
explain
mean,
to
like
you about something
it
you
was the
already know
same.
about.
Yeah, it was the same plot. It's the same sort of like plot setup as like the newer ones.
And apparently there's an upcoming one that's planned.
Oh.
Yeah, live action CG hybrid, which I'm sure is just gonna go swimmingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Also, there were apparently a lot of Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies. There was The Pink Panther, A Shot in the Dark, The Return of the Pink Panther, The Pink Panther Strikes Again, Revenge of the Pink Panther, Trail of the Pink Panther, Curse of the Pink Panther, and then Son of the Pink Panther. Prior to the sequel trilogy, that's more movies than Star Wars had.
Wow.
Yeah, like there's just one less movie for than it had. It just has one less movie than it would need to match the amount of movies that Star Wars has, not counting the side movies. Like that's a lot of films. That's, just trying to kind of think other subjects to talk about now.
I mean,
Um,
if we just want to keep on talking films, I, I only have like a couple of interesting things to say. Like my middle school language arts teacher was once accidentally Chuck Norris's stunt double.
accidentally?
So, I know, funny story, right? My language arts teacher at the time was working for a newspaper, and I think the movie they were shooting around there was Invasion USA, the 1985 movie. And so the paper sent him over to, be like an extra or whatever, like a terrorist or whatever for it. And so like he was picked out by the casting director, like, you look just like Chuck.
Oh no.
And would you like to be, and after finding out some of his background, because he was in the army as well, so like bam, uh he was asked, do you want to be his stunt double, because like the stunt double's kind of like out for here and there because he has more work that he has to do elsewhere as well. And at first he tried to reject it, citing like his need to work for the newspaper. So he called up his employer, and they're like, "No, you're gonna fricking take that. Are you kidding? You'll
Yep.
you'll get way more info for the story than otherwise." So he's like, "Dang, all right." But you'll never be able to find him in the credits because it wasn't like planned out from from the get-go. The
Okay.
only reason that I know that he wasn't bullshitting us is because he had the photo as well. He had
Nice.
the photographic evidence to prove him and Chuck Norris both together, and they looked identical.
Damn, that's actually really impressive.
Yeah,
What do you like? Some
and
old
the
Chuck Norris lore once you get done this story.
I that's pretty much the end of the Chuck Norris portion. Sure, I'm down for Chuck Norris lore.
From what I understand, like he used to do martial art films at one point as well. Like not just, the action movies we all know him
Yep.
for. Okay, you were already aware. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking
Oh,
language. Yeah, no, that
was that
was.
like the end of it, or?
Yeah, he was even like in a film at one point, I believe, with Bruce Lee.
Yeah. And it was either Bruce Lee or his son. I can't remember.
I think Brandon Lee was only on what, The Crow, and that was his also last film.
Oh, right, because he got shot in during shooting.
Yeah, 'cause someone fucked up in the prop department.
Yeah. Again.
Yeah, only for Alex
Just like
Baldwin
freaking.
to
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit later.
Yeah. But yeah, other film lore, I guess, is that my cousin wrote Monster House.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and now he's working on Rick and Morty.
That I can't tell if that's a downgrade or not.
He's getting paid for it, and at least the concepts that he comes up with it seem to be more interesting than others. Like he came up with the concept for the Night Family episode,
Yes, the
which
episode I
I
definitely know
thought was a
about.
pretty good episode.
I gotta go
Yeah,
back and watch that show. Like I only made it to season 3 way back in the day, and then I just never
oh
watched
yeah,
again.
yeah. It ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I think that being related to the guy who wrote Monster House is pretty cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
He I forget what that makes us. I want to say it's like first cousins once removed or something, because he is my mother's first cousin.
Okay.
So I don't remember where on the family tree that puts us.
My mind wants to say like second cousins, but I might be wrong.
It could be. I just uh, I can just never remember. Like once you get into like the distinguishment between cousins, that's where it all falls apart for me.
I understand way too well. I understand uncles, I understand parents, I understand grandparents, but cousins, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's why it's always just like, oh yeah, my cousin, and then no further detail,
Yeah.
because specifying the exact type when it's not first cousin is always like, okay,
Yeah.
how do you do this?
Yep. It's one of the reasons why I just don't even pretend to get into that. If we're
Yeah.
talking lore from school, I remember one time, like last day of, it was either freshman or sophomore year of high school, the teacher let us watch Trailer Park Boys on the projector.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. And, we were watching like the first episode. Good times. But man, definitely not something you throw on in high school. But that teacher was pretty cool. Like, she'd occasionally give me a ham, which was nice.
A ham?
Yes, a ham! Like, I was,
Oh, that's
pretty
funny.
low income at the time, so, like, around
Yeah.
around Christmas, I'd get a ham, or, even, I'd be sent home sometimes, like, with leftovers from lunch. So, like, that was pretty cool. If there were leftovers from, the high school cafeteria or whatever, like, they'd send me and a couple of the other low-income kids home, with, like, pretty good-sized bags of leftovers from lunch. So, if we were given rice pilaf, we'd have, like, a huge friggin' bag of that. We'd have a huge bag of the leftover school pizza, which the way the high school did pizza was really good because they had, like, supreme pizza. They'd
Oh,
have
so they actually made pizza and didn't give you like the cardboard with cheese on top.
no, that's like still the square pizza, but like it wasn't cardboard. Like they had different flavors, and it was really good.
Nice.
Yeah, like they actually really like went the extra mile doing the lunches. Like even the meatloaf stuff was always really good. Like you name it, it was probably really, really good food. Like I really can't think of anything I really complained about doing the food. It was always excellent. Like I'm not even kidding here when I say like that's the only thing I really miss about a high school, just the food. Which that's probably a very weird statement out of context, but it makes sense if you had the food. Hell, the guidance counselor, like around the like 10 a.m. give or take break between class, like 10:30, would actually like let kids come into the guidance room and pick out a snack to bring to the next class. That's kind of it,
Yeah,
like
the
all I
only
had to
thing
say.
yeah, the only other things I can remember about high school were I uh the high school I went to had like a had a few magnet programs, right? Do you know what those are?
I can't say I'm familiar, no.
So magnet programs are programs that are designed to attract more students to the school, right? The one I went to had a culinary program, an automotive engineering program, and an IT program, right? I qualified to do the IT program where uh, where I got like certified in Microsoft Office usage, Dreamweaver usage, Photoshop, Adobe, uh, Dreamweaver and Illustrator, all those good things. Um, but when we would finish our work, one person, there was always that one person initially who brings their flash drive and has a copy of Halo or Counter Strike on it.
Nice.
So once we would finish our work, we would just massive LAN party.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. You mentioned Dreamweaver, and I'm like, holy shit, you were well before my time. Because presumably you say
I mean,
Counter Strike, you're talking, what Counter Strike 1.6 or something like that, right?
maybe, but like I graduated high school in 2017, so
Okay, so
it's just
actually, you're only like two
yeah,
years ahead of me. Okay, I would have been class
yeah,
2019 before I dropped out and then took my high sets a couple years later.
yeah. So really, it it really it was just like those old copies of the games that float around forever, and then it gets passed on to the next generation, who passes it on to the next.
See, my school was never that cool, but like, they gave us all MacBook Airs to use, and I ain't talk.
Oof.
Yeah, no, like they gave all of us kids in the state of Maine like MacBook Air laptops, and like we aren't talking the low end models either. We're talking like the high end, 4 gigs of RAM, which was at the time was high end, plus the Core i7 CPUs in that, and then I think like 128 to 256 gigs of storage. So most of us, once we figured out how to get past the controls, were getting on Steam installed and emulators. So like we'd be all just doing stuff. Like some of us were playing Shell Shock Live during class, which was basically, tank worms, but
Yeah.
in kind of wireframe. Or, I was playing 7 Days to Die with, back in the day. Or there was, we were all playing just other games, like even the Half-Life games.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, like,
Yeah, the first time I played Half-Life was I actually haven't played the original yet, but I played Half-Life 2 on Xbox 360 because I bought a copy of the Orange Box.
oh, nice.
It was a used copy from GameStop many, many years after the fact, though.
I was never lucky enough to come across a copy of the Orange Box or any of that. Like, for the most part, my local GameStops would have your standard, like really bog standard American stuff. Like, you wouldn't even see much in the way of Japanese games unless you were lucky to come across, like, a copy of Dynasty Warriors or something like that. And even that was extremely rare. Like, this was well before the ThinkGeek buyout when it be, so like you weren't seeing all the figurines and shit. Like, it was still mostly a gaming store.
Yeah, man, GameStop doesn't really have games these days.
No, like last time I was on the GameStop about, I'd like to say 2 years ago. Like, you had to go past shitty computer peripherals, all sorts of Funko Pops and all that kind of things, like some screens plus a radio playing, just boring. Who gives a crap? Because let's be real, it was always the most inane. Who cares? Just to come across a really small, decrepit, and sad uh, game setup, and it's like, and at that point, why even bother? Like,
Yeah,
don't even call yourself GameStop if all your games are just relegated to essentially a small corner.
yeah.
And it's a shame too, because like GameStop when I was a kid used to be the coolest thing, because you'd see stuff from like the PS2 era all the way up to the Xbox 360 era, and now there's just
And they have the
nothing
and
like
they have
that.
the demo machines.
Oh man, the demo machines. I only ever saw those once because GameStop when I was a kid, and even now is a really really rare trip for me because the nearest one of those is 2 hours away. It's like, if I was going to GameStop because we had a little bit extra money, like this was an extremely rare treat. And I was going to just treat myself. Man, I'm kind of getting a little melancholy here, but it's like you don't know what you got till it's gone is a statement that like they were entirely correct about back in the day, and they still absolutely are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned walking past shitty peripheries, and way earlier I mentioned the pretty cool peripheral that I had for I want to say Need for Speed Underground 2, where uh I think an additional problem with uh with how games are made these days is that they're kind of reliant on what's already there and they don't want to make anything new, be it software or hardware,
Yep,
right? Game engines are all just like plug and play of different portions of it. Oh, we license the lighting engine from here, the physics engine from here, and no one's really experimenting with what else to do,
yep, and it is a damn shame.
which is also a shame because I think that VR has a lot of potential. I really loved Half-Life Alyx, but it's it's also too expensive of hardware for the average consumer to get, and therefore there's not enough money to incentivize companies to go for it. But
That's
that's where
actually
all the potential is.
that's one of the reasons why I genuinely loathe Meta for what they did with the MetaQuest 3 and even the MetaQuest Pro. Like prior to the MetaQuest 3's launch, even the MetaQuest 2, back when it was still the Oculus, and even still when it was called the MetaQuest 2, was very reasonably priced, like about the same price as a Nintendo Switch at the time. And then, as soon as the MetaQuest 3 came out, all of a sudden they started bringing out the price of everything by about 150, and it's like, what are you guys doing? You had things at a reasonable price, plus with the PC connectivity, you had an option to bring even more people into your ecosystem. What the hell are you guys thinking?
Yeah, they they build up their walled garden before they invite anyone in.
Yep. Hell, the only reason I have the MetaQuest 2 is because I won it through a contest a couple years ago, that HBO's Raised by Wolves contest.
Neat.
Couldn't tell you a damn thing
Yeah.
about that series, but I mean, a cool VR headset is a cool VR headset.
Yeah. Um, my first VR headset was the like first gen HTC Vive because I was watching a Valve News Network video and it was their Black Friday refurbished sale. So someone had returned that Vive, so HTC refurbished it, and then it was also a Black Friday sale. So I got that whole setup for like $200.
Oh, damn.
It, and even though it was like a generation or two behind, I think, of VR, it still worked perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I was still able to play Half-Life Alyx just fine. But later on, later on, I upgraded to the Valve Index, which is a little bit better. I
Yeah.
think that VR technology is where it needs to be in terms of technological advancement. Now it just needs to be made inexpensive enough to no longer be an enthusiast technology, to be a consumer technology.
Okay. I think that, like, for me right now, like, the biggest issue with VR is a lack of customer support for those, for one, outside of Windows,
Yeah.
and for two, even if it was not for that, just the prohibitive pricing. Like, if they can start making software and supporting people outside of the Microsoft ecosystem, and then you obviously bring down the pricing some, like, you're gonna see a very, like, huge surge again in the VR space,
Oh yeah.
especially if you start
I
making the
think
development tools available.
yeah, and I think that perhaps it needs to not be a hard switch either. It needs to be game developers need to add VR support to normal games as well. So rather than make it a standalone VR game, make a game that functions in both normal and VR.
That's
Like
why I
VR chat is
appreciate the
one of them,
Hitman
but
devs.
I don't really. You appreciate the Hitman devs?
Yes, because they actually, like, added VR support to the latest Hitman game, World of Assassination.
Yeah, I thought that that was like a separate standalone thing. I didn't realize
No,
that
it's
you could
its
watch it
own.
in both.
Yeah, it's its own thing now, far as I'm aware. Like, let me actually look that up because I believe that was all over the Steam page and even the Twitter
Nice.
account. Let me scroll through because they added a Bruce Lee pack for whatever reason. La Schiffer. Let me actually open up the. Oh yeah, I forgot they also added it to iOS. Like, they're putting Hitman on everything. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hitman.
Yeah, I know that VR chat allows both VR and desktop usage, although it's less a game and more a social platform, so it doesn't really count. But uh, the game Phasmophobia, I think, works really well in VR. Uh,
Yep, September
I,
2025 is when they added VR support officially to Hitman.
wow,
Yeah,
wow. So just last month?
yeah, basically, like, apparently they had as a standalone thing, but now it's actually like an official, like, thing now. So that's officially supported by the devs, like, as part of the World of Assassination.
Neat.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did play Phasmophobia with some of my friends. Phasmophobia is one of those weird games where it feels like it lands both in that friend slop category and and in a category where you can still play it on your own and it's still perfectly fine. It's weird.
Incredibly, yes.
At, I think it's a perfectly fine game on its own though. And then I saw other devs try and ape it, which is like, okay, fine. But Phasmophobia on its own, I think, is a totally fine game. You can play it on your own. It's better with friends, and it's not quite friend slop. There's still enough to do to figure out the game itself,
Yeah.
which barely keeps it out of that category.
Yeah.
But you can cross play it with keyboard and mouse or VR. Like I played it in VR while everyone else was keyboard and mouse, and it feels so much better in VR.
Oh, for real. Like I remember I just checked it, on my own for the hell because I was like, what is something that I could play that I know I would theoretically enjoy? And, came across Phasmo and had a couple friends who were playing it back in the day. And, I tried it with, in VR. I was like, holy crap, feels like how it was meant to be. And then I
Yeah,
realized I could mess around with physics objects. So, as a ghost, I was just scaring the shit out of people with stuff like teddy bears, and it was fun as hell, too.
yeah. It definitely, and once you play it in VR, you can't go back to keyboard and mouse. But if you don't know what VR feels like, you can totally enjoy it with keyboard and mouse as well.
Yeah,
And I think that's where VR games have to start from
agreed.
in order for more people to slowly adopt it.
Yeah, I would fully agree. And it's a shame that it seems like developers right now don't realize that yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll figure that
I mean,
out.
but yeah.
Oh, sorry for cutting you off.
No, I was just gonna say, like, anything else to really discuss?
Um, what about just Sony's terrible decision making?
And I don't really know much about that, just because I've been PC Master Race for so many years.
That's fair. I've always been like until the Xbox 360 generation, I was a pure Sony person. And then I,
Yeah.
and then I got given both an original Xbox and a Xbox 360 within the same time frame, and man, I I'm surprised that Microsoft managed to like lose kind of like that first generation against the PlayStation 2 because like the PS2 had significantly weaker hardware than the Xbox back in the day. But Sony was just so much better, I think, because of DVD player and whatnot. But I mean, at the same time, it like the original Xbox had a DVD player too, so I mean, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these days, I only really use DualShock controllers for PC because I think that they're the superior controller for the most part. But other than that, I don't really touch Sony anything.
That's fair. I
They
use.
they
Oh,
kind
sorry.
of make all their stuff they kind of make all two of their games exclusive to consoles. So,
I use an Xbox controller myself, but that's just because it's cheaper. And
yeah.
like I can pick up an Xbox controller for half to a quarter of the price of any DualShock controller. So I mean, even if I preferred the feel of DualShock controller, which I do, I can't financially justify it to myself.
Makes sense. Yeah, I only have like two of them.
Fair enough.
I would like to have more in the event I get any people over to like play play games on like my Steam Deck in the living room. But other than that, I two is still way more than enough for the majority of my stuff.
I mean, once the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection comes out, if you get that game, I'm more than willing to throw down with you if you like fighters.
I'm not really into fighting games.
Damn.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I know, weird, right? Uh, yeah, pretty much the only game that I have on my an- on my Steam Deck that I really like to use the controller for the most part is Gauntlet.
A solid
Because
game.
I remember, yeah, I remember way back when on the original Xbox, my family would play one of the Gauntlet games. I can't remember which, but each week we would just kind of like play a little bit. I was the blue jester. He was nice.
I had one of the Midway arcade collections. I think two of them actually. But the one I had Hydro Thunder Smash TV, or I think it had Smash TV. I know it definitely had Hydro Thunder, and then had a couple other games. Then I also had like the one of the Namco arcade collections uh, for the
Ah,
PS2, and like man, like it was fun just going back and getting to play like those old games because like when I was a kid, arcades were already dying then, but there was one I could go to. I could play a couple of old like a couple of old arcade type games like Gauntlets or whatever. But I could also go and play Virtua Fighter, or I could play something like I don't know if you ever played this back in the day, but and you ever play that one Terminator arcade game that had the cool mounted gun?
I think so. I did visit arcades quite a bit, so
Arcades were also a rare treat for me because those were an hour away.
yeah. Well, there was like a mini arcade at like the movie theater, so if we would get there early, we would like put a few quarters in while we waited.
I mean, nothing wrong with that. Like, if we, like, if I'd been, like a really good kid and we happened to have like a pretty good month, like, we'd have some quarters, and even Ma would play some of the arcade games, like it would be, she'd be playing some, like, I'd even throw a couple of quarters here and there into the jukebox. And, it's really a shame that, the arcades kind of died out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm just waxing poetic about old shit again, but I mean, still, it feels like just to go back onto, I guess, nostalgia, like we've kind of entered an era of stagnation, and like everything we all grew up and enjoyed, we're just never gonna see again.
yeah. I mean, down in Florida, there's the Silver Ball Museum where you can enjoy quite a few older arcade games and especially old pinball machines.
Okay,
Which is pretty darn fun.
that sounds it.
Uh, yeah.
Nearest arcade to me, I think nowadays, and this one just has a lot of new crud. So like your stuff that would normally be mobile games if it hadn't been in an arcade, that's about 2 hours away. But if you go about three or four, like there's actually a nice arcade that's part of a chain of arcades that even has a couple of candy cabs from Japan, which I thought was pretty neat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless it's like a specialty thing, arcades are not so common anymore. Like Silver Ball, you don't actually pay for any of the machines inside. You just pay for being there for like an hour or so.
Okay.
You pay for the time you spend in there, and it's actually a pretty darn good price from what I remember.
Okay.
And just play as many games as you want.
That
Uh,
sounds really cool.
but then a place like uh, a place like Dave and Buster's, they do have a few arcade games there, but mostly it's just different flavors of gambling.
That's a shame.
Yeah, so it's like it because it's all about getting the tickets for the prize. It's the adult Chuck E. Cheese, but without the horrifying animatronics that come to life at night.
Come on, those were the best parts, don't you know?
Don't you know?
Hey man, if I may not be Midwest, but some Midwest things just stuck with me.
Yeah, my family's Midwest, so
None of my
I get it.
family is Midwest, so I don't know why it just happened to stick to me, but it did.
Cultural homogenization.
I guess. I mean, I used to watch Supernatural a little bit when I was a kid, until season 11, which sucked.
Hmm.
And then, like, once that season got done, I just stopped watching because it was like, oh man, this is what I watched most of my life. Why? Like, I'm not sure if you ever watched that show.
No, my parents love Supernatural. I enjoyed Doctor Who more.
I was okay with Doctor Who until I made it to Capaldi's second season,
Yep.
and I just dropped it.
I dropped it during Capaldi's first season.
I made it past his first season, but like once he came back with the friggin' guitar and the tank and in like the past, it was like, dude, come on. We had enough of this dumb shit with Matt Smith. Do you really need to do this again?
Yeah, like I don't blame Capaldi for me dropping the series.
Oh, I don't blame him either. I
It
blame the shitty
yeah.
writers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he was a
Like I was
great
already getting
actor.
tired of the yeah. I was getting tired of the writers during Smith's run. It's just Capaldi is when they finally went completely off the rails and I just couldn't I there was just nothing left for me there. So it's like, okay, I'm gone.
Yeah, it's a shame too, because apparently they brought David Tennant back for a little bit of nostalgia baiting, only to immediately
Yeah.
ruin it with the guy whose
Oh yeah, I
name I
saw
don't
that one
remember.
scene.
Uh,
I saw that one scene at the uh at what I want to say is the very end of that special.
The only thing I understand for certain is that apparently they played the new Doctor Who as a sex pest, which odd choice, but hey, if you want to kill your series, more power to you.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
apparent. Like from what I understand, like the way they described it, like they genuinely made him a sex pest, like a real fucking creep, and it's like, okay, I wasn't gonna watch it anyways, but now I'm especially not gonna watch it. You basically perverted something I knew and loved and grew up with. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Gross.
Agreed. So on
Yeah.
to other subjects. Anything that's upcoming you're looking forward to for it to end on something that's rather positive?
Unfortunately, no. There's really not much them. You know what? I I'm interested in how Outer Worlds 2 plays out. Uh, I I agree with the majority opinion that the first one was kind of underwhelming, but I don't think it was bad. I think it was just mm, half baked,
I
and I
would
hope
agree with that.
and I hope that they learn their lessons from it. Because I played the DLCs for it as well, and it seemed that the DLCs were them learning their lessons of what they should have done in the base game. So I'm cautiously looking forward to Outer Worlds 2 to see if they took the right lessons from the DLCs as well.
As much as I'd like to believe they learned their lessons, there's a certain elephant in the room I suppose we gotta discuss. Avowed.
Yeah, but to be fair, these games were developed at the same time. Therefore, I'm betting that entirely different writing staff
Well, I can hope.
because you can, yeah, I'm hoping entirely different writing staff. And from what I saw in the demo, it still feels like Outer Worlds 1, which could go either way. It depends on the final execution.
I mean, if they let me kill anyone I want again, like I could do in the first Outer Worlds, there's a chance.
Yeah,
Because that was actually one of the things I really liked about the Outer Worlds, and that I thought Obsidian did far better than Bethesda did. They gave actual player choice. If you want to be a mass murdering psychopath, have fun. You could do it. If
yeah.
you wanted to play things like some kind of moral paragon, have fun. You can do it. And that's why I hated Avowed so much, because, like, they took away
If you want to
basically
shoot
all.
yourself into the sun, you can do it.
Exactly. But in the Outer Worlds, not the Outer Worlds, shit, no. In Avowed, you couldn't do anything. Like, it was a genuinely worse game, even in terms of mechanics, than 2006's The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. And we're not talking the Virtuous remaster. We are not talking the Virtuous remaster. There are not enough words to express my disgust for how they ruined certain things like the combat.
Ugh. Yeah, I haven't played the remaster. I'm probably not going to.
I ended up getting
Although I
it
am,
day
I,
one because I was so hyped, and I'd been keeping up with the leaks that had been showing up since like 2021. But man, I never finished the remaster because it had so much that it did wrong, and it was over 100 fucking gigabytes.
ooh,
Yeah, and that's on top of having to deal with shader compilation and whatnot.
yeah, because developers don't ever optimize their games anymore,
Nor do
whether
they
it's
compress
performance
files.
optimization or compressed files.
It is a mess, man. Like that's why I hated the Monster Hunter Wilds demo, and then come to find out they didn't learn a damn thing from the open beta.
Yeah, and that's why everyone needs to get more storage so that they can have more than one game on their machine. But then developers see that and it's like, wait, they have a terabyte? That means that we can make our game 600 gigs.
Uh,
Call of Duty.
Fucking Call of Duty. Like bad enough, Black Ops 3 already set the precedent way back when. Like that
Yeah.
was already bad enough, and now this? Ugh.
Yeah, it feels like developers expect you to buy a new drive for every single game or just delete everyone else's game because you should only be playing our game, right? You're only going to be playing our game. We need to have those monthly active users. Please play our game all the time.
I would rather inject pure, like, white hot liquid metal into my urethra than buy a new drive for every single game.
Oh good. We hit the sounding quota.
Yeah, it's so annoying at this point that, developers, instead of optimizing or compressing files, have decided you need every, like, all this really high capacity bullshit when it hadn't been the case even 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not exactly a
And
huge span of time. Wait, fuck, yes it is. Man, now I know
yeah.
I'm getting older if I'm seeing 6 years as not a huge span of time.
Yeah. I guess to end on more positive as well, and kind of bring Oblivion back into it. I'm a huge fan of the prequel webcomic, if you know
There
what
was a
that is.
prequel webcomic?
I, okay, it's called prequel or Making a Cat Cry: The Adventure. It's a webcomic that started in March of 2011. It completely fan made. There's no actual association with Bethesda for it, but it's essentially uh, the prequel to Oblivion and with someone's Khajiit character, but it's interactive as well. It's still going. Like the latest update was September 11th of this year. Happy holidays.
Oh,
And so
oh no, Chancellor Octavio, they've sent a second Daedroth at the White Gold Tower.
so throughout the webcomic as well, there were and still are all sorts of little mini games to make interacting with it that much more interactive. A lot of them were flash based. Uh, these days it has to be Unity, I'm pretty sure. But the creator of the webcomic also made sure to allow people to download the older flash versions so that way they could be like redone and preserved. It's difficult to experience it now that Flash is kill.
I mean,
Uh,
if you got Blue Maxima Flashpoint, you can experience most Flash games still.
yeah, and they really add a lot. They're all just like little games, and they have such good focus on the scope of what they're trying to do, and all for free that
Yep.
it's actually just quite fun. And with the latest updates recently as well, there was an entire side story completely unrelated to everything else, where you get to just what an amazing faucet
Yup.
design.
For those of you guys who
It,
don't know the Foss design, here you go. It's a masterpiece. All right, you've seen enough. Back to seeing my face and his picture.
yeah. Uh, yeah, there's this whole additional side story. If I can.
If you happen to have the link, please send it to me, please, and thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
okay.
pretty cool.
Oh, I guess it remembers me finishing up, but it's like uh, go
Well, that's really cool. I'm
uh,
actually going to share that.
or like abort, talk. Incredible. Yeah, it's an entire side story. Yeah,
That is really cool.
restart. Yeah,
Rise of the Spider
th
Cult. Huh. There's
yeah,
a lot of care that very clearly went into this.
yeah. You can just west or go west, go west, lick ant ant hill, and like yeah, there's all sorts of these, all sorts of like these little things that you can do, and you just have to figure out how to get to the end. And if you did that portion and you got to the end, and you pre-ordered some of this cool merch that I pre-ordered as well, uh, you get a special bonus. Yeah, if you're reading this now, you missed your chance for this special surprise bonus. I don't know what the special surprise bonus is, but this is a pretty darn cool shirt, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty
So I
cool.
pre-ordered that, and I even own this other shirt that he sold from a while back.
Nice. Oh man,
Yeah,
those
but
Lego titties are
yeah,
too hot for the internet.
yeah, but like this is yeah, this is pretty cool, and it's really just a joy to read through. And it's just it's cute. I like it.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. If you have the link,
Yeah,
please feel free to send it my way.
yeah. It's just prequeladventure.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's plenty to read, plenty little mini games to play for it. The side stories portion is really fun as well because there's a couple of special games in there as well.
Hmm. Like that's really cool,
And
dude.
and then for any of the latest updates as well, there's a command and submit command portion. Oh yeah, like there's a really fun latest like this was part
All I'm
of like
seeing right
the latest
now
update.
on the screen is just your picture made large.
Oh,
I'm not sure what's going on. It says you're sharing your screen, but nothing's showing up for me.
hmm.
I will share my screen to share your screen, kind of show you what I'm seeing. Oh yeah, now it's just showing my. Thanks, Discord. That's not what I wanted to show. But yeah, no, it's just showing like an enlarged version of your character thingamabobber.
Maybe if I go by screen rather than
Maybe?
window.
I'm still seeing nothing. I just
Hmm.
yeah, no, it's not giving me the option at all.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Point is, like in the latest update for it, there's a really fun little mini game interactive portion as well. And like if you don't participate in these little mini games, then you are actually going to be a little bit lost for some of the story that gets told.
Okay.
But it's each of them has its own like little unique flavor to it. The latest one is basically like a side-scrolling platform, and then you just as you just get various exposition, uh, really cute music along with it as well. There's another portion where it's just a boss fight. You just have to fight a giant imp
Oh, that's really cool.
where yeah, you're throwing fireballs at it and you have to pick up wood with telekinesis to shield yourself.
That's really cool.
Then there's another portion that's just like explore this town. You can see what this person had Kavach look like before the Oblivion Gate opened. Speak to various characters within it, and and find various items. Which then, when it was time to submit commands, it actually mattered if people found those items, because if you didn't find it, you couldn't submit a command related to it because you didn't know it existed.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it each of them is so different. There's a prequel has so much of that experimentation that you and I were talk about yearning for, and they're all like in little in a micro form. You could extrapolate from there and it would be great, but there's so much experimentation and new stuff with it.
Yep.
So not all lost is hope, I think.
Not
There's
all
still
lost
plenty
is
that can be
hope,
done.
huh?
Exactly.
All right.
Not all lost is hope.
Fair
So
enough.
stuff can get better. Stuff is better if you know where to look.
And I will have to start looking up significantly more now.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good note to end it on, huh?
Yeah, I'd say so. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys for the next one.